Deals on Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs. Visit buyfordnow.com. By Verizon, the most awarded network is now the best streaming network. And by Staples, the back-to-school specialty store. Celebrate Jacob deGrom's performance this season with a special 4 for $48 ticket offer in select seating locations for all remaining Mets home games. That's 4 for $48. Tickets are subject to availability. For tickets, visit Mets.com/deGrom. Time for your Lowe's whole team together. Met RBI leaders. Their RBI leader plays for the Phillies. As Contreras still has 6 more RBIs than any other Met. Michael Conforto trying to close that gap tonight. Road Ahead is presented by Tri-State GMC. This is the start of a 9-game road trip. Night game tomorrow, day game Wednesday here in Chicago. Then over the weekend, the Mets are in San Francisco. And then on Labor Day, the Mets start a series in Los Angeles. They get home a week from Thursday to take on the Fightin' Phils. It's always a party at Wrigley Field. This is music from when the ballpark opened, I believe. First pitch coming up. Team flags because the wind is gusting out today, 17 to 25 miles an hour. Ronnie, taken on faith that every time a pitcher goes to the mound at Wrigley Field, when he gets up in the morning before going to the ballpark, the first thing he does is check the wind.
Yeah, check the wind, and the other thing you check is if it's a really hot day, the wind tends to blow out here if it's hot. It's hot tonight.
Geico starting a lineup for the Mets. If you've been following this on our pregame and on social media, Jose Bautista apparently has been claimed on waivers by the Phillies, and the Mets and Phils are trying to work out a deal. But in the meantime, he remains a Met. He's got 5 home runs in his career against Jon Lester, and so Mickey Callaway has him in the lineup tonight. Brandon Nimmo is here. He's on the taxi squad. The plan is to activate him for tomorrow's game, but Much of that will depend on whether they end up dealing Bautista.
Well, Jon Lester, Toyota numbers for this season. He's had a couple of bumps in the road, but still always provides you with an excellent year. 14-5, 116 punch outs. Probably have over 200 innings this year. 46-18 since he signed with the Cubs. And defensively for the Cubs, who you have to look at is Wilson Contreras. I know Anthony Rizzo has a Gold Glove, but he has 7 pickoffs thrown behind runners this year, and Anthony Rizzo can really scoop it. Boy, we had a lot of ice cream, by the way, our broadcast booth at dinner tonight. And then in the outfield, Hayward's playing a lot more center field. Zobrist will be in right, Schwarber in left. When Chris Bryant comes back, he might see more time in the outfield than he sees at third base.
Bryant could be back as early as Wednesday, starting a rehab assignment tonight. There's Murph, who I don't know if you noticed this. He's acted like Babe Ruth since late in the 2015 season. He's now got Babe Ruth's number.
Oh,
he's wearing number 3. Checking his card because the Mets have players that he hasn't necessarily seen all that much of. By the way, I have a question also.
You never know what that card is about if Murph's looking at it. It might not even be about a defense.
I have a question about the Cubs defense, okay? Yeah. Javier Baez may be one of the best defensive players in baseball. Could he win the Platinum Glove without winning a Gold Glove since he plays so many different places?
Yes, I think he could. 94 times he's played second base, 16 times third base, and this is his 41st start at shortstop. See what he's saying? It's really windy here, guys. Let everyone help each other with anything in the air.
Addison Russell on the deal with a finger injury. That's why Baez is playing shortstop. Ahmed Rosario is playing shortstop for the Mets. Just 3 for his last 24 after a really good stretch. Ready to get things started against Jon Lester. And Lester's first pitch of the night is drilled into left field, and Rosario has a leadoff hit. First pitch fastball. Rosario is ready, and that's how we got underway tonight with a stinging base hit off the bat of Rosario.
Well, Jon Lester loves his fastball, loves his cutter in, and Rosario was waiting on that first pitch. That ball's inside. He just started it early and produces a line drive hit.
The wind officially is blowing out at 17 miles an hour. Ooh. Ronnie, is that enough to make a pitcher sweat?
I'm sweating right now.
It's Austin Jackson. Jeff McNeil left the game yesterday with a tight quad. He has been hitting second. He's sitting today. Probably will be in the lineup tomorrow. Might be available to pinch hit tonight. So Jackson moves up to the tool hole tonight. Rosario with a huge lead at first against Lester, and he's running first pitch, and it's mishandled by Contreras. Rosario went diving into second. Had he not, he might have been able to continue on to third. So it's a stolen base for Rosario, his 16th of the year. Lester has done a much better job of controlling the running game this year, but Rosario was running at the first opportunity.
Well, just a huge jump. He just dared Lester to throw over. When he didn't, he took advantage, and Contreras, in trying to make up some time, dropped the ball.
Only the 11th stolen base against Lester this year. A guy whose difficulty in throwing to first has been well chronicled. And he misses outside with the fastball to Jackson, and it's 2-0. So the Mets aggressive against Lester early, aggressive swinging by Rosario, and aggressive running. He's now been successful 15 of his last 19 attempts. And he's been running far more. That's 10 since the All-Star break. Only 5 before the break as Jackson fouls off the fastball, and it's 2-1. There are a lot of Mets in the lineup today who have outstanding career numbers against Lester, including Jackson, who's 8 for 25 against Lester, 9 for 25, 360 for his career. But Lester has pitched great against the Mets the last 4 times he's faced them. After that horrible start he had at Citi Field. Remember 2 years ago he knocked out in the second inning. Up the middle, and that'll go through for a base hit. Rosario turns third, and he'll come home with the game's first run. Well, it took just 5 pitches for the Mets to cash a run against Lester. Jackson drives in Rosario, and it's 1-0 New York.
10th hit now for Jackson against Lester. Just a simple fastball up in the strike zone. He gets on top and hits that ball right back up the middle. No chance for Baez. And even Hayward with that goal, nothing for him to do except toss it into second. Rosario always likes to look over his back shoulder. That's something that he certainly can work on. No need, just pick up your coach.
So Rosario plates a first inning run. That was like a Reyes run back in the day. Get on, steal the base, come on home. Now Wilmer Flores, who has 3 home runs in his career against Lester. in just 13 at bats. And he takes a fastball wide for ball one. So Lester throwing all fastballs early, and the Mets' first two hitters have gotten base hits.
He's had a little more success lately because he's used his secondary pitches, but he's come out throwing his hard stuff.
Well, he's going to have to start mixing in some of those secondary pitches quickly. He's behind a second straight hitter, 2-0. Lester's last start was in Detroit. He allowed just one run in 5 2/3. His last two starts have been great after a stretch where he really got beat up. A 5-start stretch where his ERA was over 10. Jackson's running. Didn't get a great jump. Contreras' throw is on the money, and Jackson's tagged out for the first out of the night. Jackson kind of stutter stepped at the start, and that cost him. Murphy puts on the tag for the 2-4 caught stealing.
You know, usually when you get this kind of lead and start by Jackson, that stutter step usually stops you and you stop in your tracks and go back. He decided to chance it, and Contreras has probably one of the best arms in the game.
And now Wilmer takes low and in. It's 3-1. Well, the Mets obviously came in today with a game plan to run against Lester. It's a little bit of an outdated game plan, as we mentioned. I mean, Lester's been much better this year at holding runners and controlling the running game. Wilmer pops one up, and Murphy retreats to get it, and that's the second out.
Well, just remember, fans, the Chicago Cubs, if they get on base, will probably be doing some of the same against Noah Syndergaard.
Undoubtedly so. So 2 out, nobody on with a run home. Here's Todd Frazier. Todd has homered 3 times in his last 5 games. But this has not been Todd's best year against left-handed pitching, hitting just 183 against lefties with 3 home runs this year. And whereas teams generally play a full shift against Frazier, the Cubs are not. Cubs do not shift nearly as much as one would suspect with Joe Maddon at the helm.
Well, it's interesting, Joe Maddon, when he was the manager with the Tampa Bay Rays, they shifted probably more than anyone in baseball, and since he's been with the Cubs, they shift less.
Well, he's got very gifted defensive players. Rizzo and Baez and Hayward, Contreras, all potential Gold Glovers. Third straight batter that Lester's fallen behind 2-0. And Frazier pops it up. Rizzo gives way to Murphy, and Murph puts it away, and that retires the side. But Rosario steals a base that creates a run. Mets hand Noah Syndergaard a 1-0 lead. Murphy hadn't hit leadoff since 2014 before joining the Cubs, but they've had him lead off in all now 6 of his starts. Chris Bryant on the DL, but still plenty of firepower in that Cubs lineup, including a resurgent Ben Zobrist, who's having a real good year at age 37.
Well, Land Rover numbers. Noah Syndergaard made his debut here over 3 seasons ago, where he gave up 3 runs and 5 1/3 innings. Got the loss that night, but he's been good against the Cubbies ever since.
So here's Murph, 390 lifetime against the Mets, but not so much against Syndergaard, just 4 for 18 against Noah. Highest batting average of any player past or present against the Mets. Second on the list is Rico Cardi at 380. And Syndergaard buries that one low and in. It's 2-0. Javier Baez and Anthony Rizzo to follow. Murph is 9 for 23, hitting .391 in his 5 games so far as a Cub, including a couple of home runs. So he has burst into the north side with a lot of power. And he fouls that ball off his knee, and of course the knee has been the sticking point for Murph this year.
And this one just a foul off his knee. Doesn't have a great foundation, but still is figuring out a way to hit. Let's see where he fouls it off. Right in the right inside of the right knee.
He had microfracture surgery in the offseason. It cost him the first month or so of the season, and he was pretty unsteady when he first came back with the Nats. But he has been red hot with the bat since the All-Star break, hitting .349 in the second half. And he laces one down the left field line for a leadoff hit. Chased down by Conforto. Murphy hesitates. Now he's going to try for second, and the throw comes in too late. Murph had slammed on the brakes, but when Conforto didn't pick it up cleanly, he continued on. He's got himself a leadoff double.
Well, this is a bullet. After fouling the ball off his knee, Syndergaard decides to go away with the fastball, and he handles it. Conforto on the backhand doesn't come up with it cleanly. A good throw to second, though, might have been a play, but it's off. And watch how he runs here. Gary called it right. He turns, he's going to stop, and then he does the stutter step and keeps going. Good base running by the Murph.
So now Javier Baez, who leads the National League with 97 runs batted in. And he goes after a first pitch slider, 0-1. Baez having himself a seminal year. He's got 28 home runs. It's the most for a Cubs middle infielder since Ryne Sandberg in 1990. And still 5 weeks to go in the season.
It's in the 2020 club, over 20 stolen bases, 28 home runs.
And then throw in the great defense, and he has really turned into the player the Cubs always hoped he would be. Another slider by Syndergaard, and it's 1-1. You can still get him to chase out of the strike zone, but not as much.
Yeah, not as much as before. He really is well off the plate, has a large stride in towards the plate. So the way to pitch him is inside. But Noah so far trying to go away.
3 straight sliders, and it's 2-1. Baez 8th in the National League in home runs, 5th in doubles, 2nd in triples, 7th in stolen bases, 3rd in slugging percentage, 2nd in extra base hits. Just having himself a phenomenal year. One of the top candidates for National League MVP, which is a wide open race, but Baez's name certainly is prominent in that discussion. And he hits one hard through the hole. That'll be a base hit. Murphy will have to go to third and stop there. And so back-to-back hits against Syndergaard, as was the case against Lester in the top of the inning, and the Cubs have first and third and nobody out.
Okay, I don't know if he can make the play, but this is a mistake. See where Rosario is playing? There is no reason to hold Daniel Murphy on at second base. He can't steal a base. He's a base-to-base runner now. Just play your position. You know, Murph tries to appear like he's very runnerish, like he's going to do something. He's not doing anything. Defense first.
He's just being Murph.
Yeah.
Here's Rizzo, 84 RBIs, 6th in the National League. And an early chance for the Cubs after the Mets played at a run at the top of the inning.
This is another thing we've seen from Syndergaard at times. He has not come out of the chute quickly, which he always did in the past. I mean, you were almost guaranteed a couple of strikeouts on 12 pitches in the first inning.
And a pickoff. Now in the rundown, Baez. Murphy holding at third. Still in the rundown, and finally Reyes puts on the tag. That was not a design play by the Cubs, and Syndergaard with the pickoff, and they get Baez on the rundown, and that's the first out.
You know, I was talking in the last start by Syndergaard, and there's been a lot of talk about him quickening his move to the plate. I think that it's futile to do that. He should work on his move, and his good move there produces an out.
1-3-6-4 on the caught stealing. Now the Mets are going to bring the infield in with Murphy at third and one out, and Frazier holding against Murphy at third base, and Rizzo fouls off the fastball at 99 miles an hour.
Well, here's the Mets defense. Plawecki again behind the plate. Frazier, Rosario, Reyes gets the start because of McNeil's quad injury. Flores has got 3 home runs against Mr. Lester, and in the outfield, Bautista's playing. He has 5 home runs in his career against Lester. I don't agree with the infield in here, by the way. I'd play it back.
And Rizzo clocks one down the line. That'll bring in the run. It'll go all the way to the wall. Murphy comes in to tie the game. Rizzo heads to second. He's got an RBI double. 3 straight hits against Syndergaard to start the first inning, and the Cubs have tied the game at 1. 85 RBIs now for Anthony Rizzo, and Syndergaard getting hit hard.
Just a little breaking ball down and in, and that's where Rizzo's strength is. So it wouldn't have mattered where the infield play. That was a bullet to right field on a couple of hops before Bautista gets it in. Down and in. You have to stay away from there. If you're going to come in on Rizzo, it's got to be at the belt buckle or higher.
So now Zobrist hitting cleanup and playing right field, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Then Zobrist, 5th in the National League, hitting a .308. When the Mets played the Cubs late May, early June, Zobrist was really struggling, but he had a good series against the Mets, and he has really picked it up over the last couple of months and having a fine year at age 37. Nobody in the National League is hitting higher than .313. It's that kind of year. A very close batting race.
Yeah, Yelich cooled down. He was in the mid 320s for a while. Zobrist has really quieted his hands before the pitch comes in. He used to churn it around a lot. Now he's very quiet.
I wonder if that's a concession to age.
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, it was a starting mechanism. Like all hitters have a starting mechanism, but you know, now he's just trying to have really slow feet, quick hands kind of approach.
Zobrist in the 3rd year of the 4-year contract he signed when the Mets were in competition for him after the 2015 season, and the Cubs won that battle. And Syndergaard looking Rizzo back.
Zobrist is one of those players that unless he plays for you, you realize every single night he seems to do something to help your team win a ball game.
Well, he can play just about anywhere. He's hitting over 300 from both sides of the plate. 0 for 5 in his career against Syndergaard, and he tops that changeup foul. Well, both these teams have come out firing.
They haven't even hit the ball in the air yet. Wait till that starts.
Syndergaard trying to put away Zobrist with Jason Hayward on deck. And that's hit through the hole, a base hit. Rizzo to third. He'll be held up there by Brian Butterfield. 4 straight hits against Syndergaard. This one coming on an 0-2 pitch.
Well, with a guy that throws 100 miles an hour, who features a ball that he likes to run away from the left-handed hitters, the Mets are determined to play their shortstop up the middle. And right in that shortstop hole produces another hit. That two-seam grip that he throws, it's supposed to be in. So mistake by Syndergaard, maybe not the defense. Ball ran down and away, and Zobrist just went with it.
Dave Island at the mound for a first inning visit. Syndergaard, who had a good start against the Giants his last time out, gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. Retired the first 6 hitters in that game, but he hasn't retired a hitter yet. The only out he's gotten was on the pickoff caught stealing. Only the 3rd caught stealing with Syndergaard on the mound this year in 28 tries. So now it's Hayward, who broke out of a bit of a slump with a 4-for-4 day yesterday as the Cubs completed a sweep of Cincinnati. Hayward takes a sinker low and away, ball 1. Those are the last 5 starts for Noah. He's not been at his best. Had the bout with the hand, foot, and mouth disease along the way.
Ten of his 16 starts, 2 or fewer earned runs, but it's not really been that. The domination over opposing clubs has not been there for Noah this year, in my estimation.
Well, the strange stat is that he's given up more hits than innings pitched, and we've seen it in this inning. Hayward chases a pitch down and fouls it off, and it's 1-1. I mean, 114 hits now in 107 innings. A pitcher with this kind of stuff should not be giving up more hits than innings pitched.
For you folks at home, if in 100 innings, if you have stuff like Noah Syndergaard, shouldn't give up more than 75, maybe 80 hits.
Second time in his career he's given up 4 straight hits to start a game. The other one came earlier this year against the Braves. Hayward fouls back the fastball, 1-2. Well, the other thing is, you know, in this high strikeout era, Syndergaard is not striking people out at the rate you'd expect. He's over a strikeout per inning, but he's not in that 10, 11, 12 strikeouts per 9 inning where you might expect him to be.
Yeah, that's where the elite live. You know, 12 or more for every 9 innings pitched.
1-2 coming to Hayward. And he misses inside with a slider, 2-2. Hayward's done well against Syndergaard, 4 hits and 9 at bats, and he has been the Cubs' best hitter with runners in scoring position this year, .333, which is 7th best in the league. 20th pitch of the inning coming up. And Hayward goes down swinging on the changeup, and that's the 2nd out. So Syndergaard's got his first strikeout.
Well, nice sequence of pitches when you think about it. Sinker away that he fouled and he was late on, and then he comes back with a changeup in the same spot. So it starts just like a sinker on the outside part and then just disappears.
So 2 out, runners at the corners, and Syndergaard has a chance to get through this with just the 1 run scoring if he can get through Wilson Contreras. Contreras, who made his first All-Star game this year, hitting .264, 9 home runs, and slider off the plate for ball 1.
Contreras has come back to the field a little on his offense this year. His defense has gotten better, but he was one of the big reasons they went to the postseason last year. He hit 4th in this lineup for much of the year.
Just 43 RBIs, hitting just .204 with runners in scoring position. And he bounces that one down to Frazier. Short hop pickup, nice grab, and he throws out Contreras to end the inning. So despite 4 hits in the first inning, Syndergaard able to limit the damage to just the 1 run. 1-1 as we go to the 2nd at Wrigley. manufacturing a first-inning run.
Well, nice to see Rosario jumps on the first pitch. Line drive to left field on the second pitch. Steals off Lester and gets in scoring position. And on the fifth pitch, Austin Jackson with a clean single to center field. The Mets are up right away.
Cubs responded with the tying run in the bottom of the inning, so we start fresh in the second with Michael Conforto leading off against Lester. And he hits the first pitch in the air to center field, way back, headed toward the wall. It's out of here. A monstrous home run from Conforto. Didn't even need the wind blowing out. He hits one dead central for his 19th of the year, and the Mets go back in front 2-1.
Well, Lester was behind almost every hitter in the first inning, other than Rosario, so decides in the second to try to get up on Conforto, and he was ready. Now 2 hits by the Mets on first pitches from Lester. A single by Rosario and this bomb from Conforto.
Well, on a night when the wind is blowing straight out, Conforto the first to get it up in the air, and man, did he clout that. Everybody's been hitting line drives in the first inning, but Conforto got the wind behind that one, and it just went forever. Now Jose Bautista, who, as Ronnie mentioned, has 5 home runs in his career against Lester. Lester throws his first curveball of the night and gets it in for a strike. 5 home runs in 62 at bats against Lester. 472 feet is the estimated difference on that distance on the Conforto home run.
I mean, it was a bomb. I've only seen 1 home run hit by a Met longer than that, and that was by Mr. Strawberry.
And now Lester behind on Bautista, 3-1.
See the shift on against Bautista. I think with Lester, he's starting to try to make the move when he's behind in the count 2-1, 3-1 to go soft, change-ups and cutters.
Bautista got ahead of that one. Cutter that he hit out of sight but foul. That one winds up on Waveland Avenue.
Anything in the air, you just get a new one. Just rub up a new baseball.
Here's the thing. If it becomes a home run contest, Lester's given up 22 this year.
That's right.
Syndergaard's given up 6. This is a fly ball pitcher. And Bautista hits that one foul.
I think you have to factor all things together when you start to make decisions, especially defensively. So, you know, I was disagreeing with the Mets playing in when they had a 1-0 lead.
Right.
Well, I also factored in that today could produce a different kind of ball game.
Right. Could be one of those 11-10 games. That's line to center field. In comes Hayward to pick it off for the first out. And Bautista hit it hard. The Gold Glover Hayward grabs it. The Shake Shack pack for just $25 per ticket is an amazing way to enjoy a Mets game at Citi Field. Your Shake Shack pack includes a Mets game ticket, a single Shack burger, and a shake. Tickets are subject to availability. Purchase your Shake Shack pack today at Mets.com/Shake Shack pack, and then say /Shake Shack pack 5 times fast. Here's Jose Reyes playing second base with Jeff McNeil's quad a little wonky today. And Reyes gets one in the air to left and overcomes Schwarber. And there are 2 out.
Maybe they should do that in Syracuse or Fordham. Have that advertisement. Anyone who's aspiring to be a broadcaster has to be able to read that.
She sells seashells by the seashore. Here's Kevin Plawecki. Still on baby watch. His wife's due date was today. She's in Arizona. He's in Chicago. Mets are still carrying 3 catchers. Devin Mesoraco's neck is still sore enough that he's not ready to go. Tomas Nido started yesterday. Plawecki in there today. And he takes a first pitch curveball off the plate for ball 1. Plawecki 3 for 6 in the series against Washington. It's on base percentage at .340 for the year. And he lays off that curveball and stopped it in time. Ramon DeJesus with the call down at first. 2-0. That is already the 4th 2-0 count for Lester through the first 8 batters he's faced. And now 3-0 with Syndergaard standing on deck, and you know was licking his chops about getting one up in the air.
I mean, he's one of those pitchers when he's on the on-deck circle. When you're pitching, you were like, wait a minute, I got to retire this 8th place hitter.
And ball 4. Plawecki's on with a 4-pitch walk. And so Syndergaard will bat with the man on after Lester's first walk of the night, and he wants a new baseball. Joe Maddon's taken his team to the League Championship Series each of the last 3 years. World Series champions 2 years ago. Fell short last year against the Dodgers. Syndergaard 4 career home runs. And he takes one just off the plate, and Lester's unhappy with that call by Eric Cooper.
Lost to the Dodgers last year, as Gary was saying, beat Cleveland when they were behind in that series. Jon Lester pitched a big Game 5 here at Wrigley to get them back in that series, and of course the Mets routed them in a sweep of 4 games.
Lester started the first game of that series at Citi Field, gave up 4 runs in 6 2/3, got beat by Matt Harvey that night, the first of that 4-game sweep.
One of the things about Lester, he will show his frustration early at the home plate umpire. Expects to get every call.
And he takes a cutter for a strike, 1-1. Eric Cooper calling the balls and strikes for a moment to Jesus, Stu Sherwater, and the crew chief Gary Cedarstrom. Syndergaard 5 hits, 3 RBIs this year. And he goes after a cutter and misses, and it's 1-2. Syndergaard doesn't hit his home runs at places where it's easy to hit them. Hits them at Citi Field. He hits them at Dodger Stadium.
Well, it's interesting when you see Syndergaard up. You look at the outfielders. They're playing like they would play a regular player.
Right.
Schwarber's deep. Hayward is a Gold Glove, is semi-deep, and Zobrist is almost in the bleachers.
Two from Lester, and he misses well outside. Good save by Contreras to keep Plawecki at first, and now it's a full count, and Plawecki will be running. Three-two. And it's outside. He walked Syndergaard, and Lester remains unhappy with Eric Cooper. Back-to-back 2-out walks to the 8 and 9 hitters.
Well, that wasn't even close. There's no reason to be frustrated with Eric Cooper over that pitch.
So now Rosario jumped Lester for a first pitch base hit, his first time up, and then stole second and scored the Mets run, first run. Now batting with 2 out and 2 on in the second. And he goes after the first one and bangs it up the middle. Here's Plawecki around third, being waved home. The throw to the plate by Hayward is offline, and Plawecki gets around the tag by Contreras, and the Mets lead 3-1. So again, Rosario jumped to first pitch. This time he drives in his 42nd run of the year, and it's 3-1 New York.
We have a great view from where we sit here. First, Rosario inside out a little bit with that BB up the middle, but great charge by Hayward, and when he let it go, the ball cut on him. It didn't slice like most left-handed throws, so it came up the line, allowing Plawecki to score.
This evasive maneuver by Kevin. Oh, it looked like was a little surprised that Glenn Sherlock was waving him, but Glenn made the right call. So those 2-out walks hurt Lester, and now here's Jackson, who drove in the first Met run, and a curveball that sails up and away for ball 1.
So he just goes all the way around, and Justice gives himself enough room to cut back and get his left hand on the plate. Good aggressive play by Glenn Sherlock.
Syndergaard now at second, Rosario at first with 2 runs home in the inning, and Jackson takes a curveball at his feet, and it's 2-0. It's now 5-2-0 counts to the first 10-11 batters. Jackson went up the middle for his RBI single in the first. And he takes one on the corner for a strike, 2-1.
I call these starts kind of older, experienced pitcher starts. And what I mean by that is that sometimes it takes a while for an older pitcher to get his mechanics right and execute pitches. And sometimes teams jump them early, like they are now.
That's hit hard. Base hit into left field. Syndergaard at third. He'll be held up there as Schwarber charges it. So Jackson keeps the inning alive, and the Mets have the bases loaded with Wilmer Flores coming up. So Jackson is 2 for 2.
Again, middle by Lester and down. You're going to get hurt on those pitches. Any error that you pitch.
Jim Hickey, the Cubs pitching coach, on his way out to talk to Lester. So here are these two elite pitchers, Lester and Syndergaard, and they've each had a mound visit from the pitching coach within the first 2 innings.
You know, you probably thought to yourself that Hickey should have been out there earlier. But with a guy like Lester, he doesn't want the pitching coach out there. And Hickey was very demonstrative when he came out there because he knows that his pitcher's reeling and in trouble.
Cubs have been getting great starting pitching lately. 1.67 ERA in their last 10 games. But Lester on the ropes early in this game, already down 3-1. And a huge hitter right here with Wilmer Flores coming up. Lester had a great month of June. In fact, he was National League Pitcher of the Month in June. But July and the first part of August were not kind to him before he pitched well his last 2 starts. Here's Wilmer with the bases loaded, and he takes just away for ball 1. Wilmer popped up to the second baseman his first time up. Syndergaard at third, Rosario at second, Jackson at first with 2 runs already home in the inning. And Wilmer pops this one up. Rizzo takes charge of it, and Lester avoids further damage, but the Mets sent 8 men to the plate and they scored twice. Michael Conforto with a monstrous home run to center field, got it up in the jet stream at 472 feet. Mets lead 3-1 in the second at Wrigley.
But can you feel it right now, right now? Alright. But can you feel it
That Mets memory presented by Burden LLP, accountants and advisors. It was a whitewash. Mets eked out that series against the Dodgers and then just destroyed the Cubs.
I mean, great pitching, and Daniel Murphy decided to hit 500 and homer in every game.
Kyle Schwarber grounds one down to first. Flores makes the play to Syndergaard for the first out. Better start to the second than to the first for Noah.
You think of some, there's a wind blowing 2015. You think of some of the pitchers that Murphy hit home runs off. Kershaw, Greinke, Arrieta, Lester. I don't think Hendricks. Might not have hit one off Hendricks. It was just it was amazing.
He basically took care of every quality pitcher. It was startling.
It was the most remarkable thing I've seen in the postseason. Just owned it.
It was his Babe Ruth moment. Jon Lester batting 8th in the order, takes ball 1.
Jon Lester has made himself into a decent hitter. I think he started 0 for 66,
yep.
Gary, and he is not an automatic out anymore. In fact, has a home run this year.
Yep, 5 hits, including a homer, 7 RBIs for Lester. And of course, played the first part of his career in the American League, and signed that 6-year, $155 million contract with the Cubs, and he has been worth every penny. In the 4th year of that deal now.
He signed him to bring an ace and a leader and a winner over to this ball club, and he's been all 3.
Won his 3rd World Series ring with the Cubs after winning 2 with the Red Sox. Of course, it was with the A's only briefly. Pitched in that wild card game in 2014 against the Royals. Had a 4-run lead in the 8th inning, and then the Royals took advantage of his inability to hold runners.
76 games over 500 in his career. A definite chance to get 200, which I think is the new big number to look at, where wins are different than they were in the time I pitched and times before that. 200 is a huge number.
Two-two, and Lester fouls one at the plate. David Bodie's batting 9th in the order. He's on deck. There's your Spectrum high-speed pitch. As generally is the case, Syndergaard wins that battle.
Can he throw 93 miles an hour when he's got 2,700 innings like Lester does? We'll see.
Seventh pitch of the at-bat to Lester. And he struck him out. 100-mile-an-hour fastball for his 2nd strikeout. 2 out and nobody on. Enhance your next game day experience with the MLB Ballpark app. Access and manage your tickets. Enjoy check-in offers, exclusive content, and much more. Download the MLB Ballpark app today. And the latest Cubs folk hero, David Bodie.
That's right.
He etched his name into Cubs lore forever with his walk-off down by 3 runs, 2-out grand slam against the Nationals a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Daniel Murphy, when he first was traded over here, went up to David Bodie. He said, "You're the reason I'm here." Because that grand slam against the Nationals kind of let Mike Rizzo know he's going to break up the team.
Yeah, it hastened their ultimate demise.
And of course, this ballpark never played a night game till 1988. Is that right, Gary?
That's right. And there are no lights in the outfield here. All the lights are in foul territory.
And you can barely see the jersey's very dark, a Syndergaard.
Behind the bag, Reyes bobbles, recovers in time, but not in time to throw out Bodie. And he's got an infield hit.
Well, Reyes tried to retreat to get that on a little bigger hop. He was not able to. And Bodie runs well enough to get himself an infield single.
There's the 5th hit, first time through the batting order against Syndergaard. And that'll get Murphy to the plate with a man on.
When you take a look at the outfield, you can barely see the center fielder.
I mean, there are shadows from the lights,
yeah,
which you're not supposed to see.
That's right.
In a big league ballpark at night.
The only place that used to be reminiscent of this was the old Turner Stadium, right?
Turner Field.
Turner Field
Also did not have lights in the outfield. They only had them above the grandstand in foul territory. And the outfielders used to complain all the time about the lighting at Turner Field. Of course, this ballpark was built to play day baseball, and
that's right.
More and more over the last 30 years, they've played more and more night games.
If Joe Madden had his way, they'd play all night games here.
Wouldn't make folks in the neighborhood that happen. Murphy doubled down the left field line his first time up and scored the Cubs run. And Syndergaard backs him off.
You know, Gary, I know as a visiting player in the day when they only played day baseball, you used to welcome coming to Chicago because it would break up your year. You were able to, you know, play the games in the afternoon and then go out with your teammates for dinner, something that you could rarely do anywhere else.
But there was always the feeling that it was an impediment for the home team,
yeah,
that they had to play 81 games in the summer sun, and that wore them down over the course of the season. And of course, from an attendance and from a TV standpoint, yeah, it was a detriment as well. But if it weren't for day baseball at Wrigley, where would Ferris Bueller have gone on his day off?
Well, watching him in that movie, he would have found a place to go.
Well, he found some other venue. It was quite a parade. Bodie at first, 3 stolen bases, but he's been caught 4 times. And Murphy flies one out to center, and Jackson is there. And that retires the side. So a hit and 1 left after 2 at Wrigley. Mets 3, Cubs 1. Third inning, 3-1 New York. Todd Frazier leads off against Jon Lester, who's given up 3 runs and 5 hits over the first 2 innings. And Frazier attacks the first pitch cutter and fouls it off. A big series starting tonight in Houston. The last series of the year between the first place Astros and the second place A's. Oakland a game and a half behind Houston. Matt Chapman with a 2-run homer off Garrett Cole, and it's 4-0 Oakland. The A's have been better on the road than at home, which makes sense because they're a home run hitting team and they'll play in a great home run hitting ballpark.
But Chris Davis has got red hot. Matt Chapman, it looks like he's going to be one of the best players in the game.
A great defender at third base. I didn't think that in Nolan Arenado's generation there'd be another third baseman who could compare to him, but Chapman does.
Yeah, he does. There's the changeup. You figured that Lester would start to go with the slow stuff when he gets behind in the counts.
Michael Conforto on deck, then Jose Bautista for the Mets in the third. Frazier takes outside, full count. Lester walked 2 in a row, the 8 and 9 hitters, after 2 were out in the second, and it cost him a run. Now he's 3-2 on the leadoff hitter in the third. And Frazier pops it up. Hurrying in is Rizzo, and he gets to it in time. Wow. The Oakland A's, by the way, are on pace for 140 home runs on the road, which would be a record. The 2001 Giants hit 138 on the road. That's when Barry Bonds was at his best.
Jeff Kent and crew.
Rich Aurelia. Well, here's Conforto with the longest home run any Met has hit since StatCast began measuring in 2015. 472 feet to dead center field. And it was his 7th home run against a left-hand pitcher this year, 7 of his 19. He's actually hit for a higher average against lefties than he has against righties this year.
A lot of his hits are to the center field and the left center, so maybe keeping that shoulder in, staying in a little longer.
It's tied up inside on the Lester cutter. 2-1. Well, the ball landed on that ledge right in front of the ATI sign and bounced up into the bleachers, and not too many landed up in that upper bleacher section in center field.
You know, that shot we just had, if we can see it, show it again. I said Strawberry hit one farther. See where the camera well is? Orbit gum. Strawberry went over that.
Yeah, that's good. Conforto swings and misses. Contreras runs it down and throws him out to complete the putout. The strikeout is the first of the night for Lester, and there are 2 down in the inning. So Lester with a chance for his first clean inning of the night as he takes on Bautista, who hit the ball hard twice in his first at bat. One he cranked foul onto Waveland Avenue, and then he lined out to Hayward in center field. Bautista, like many of the Met right-hand hitters, has had a really strange year against lefties, hitting just 179 against lefties. Frazier 183. Flores, who used to eat lefties for lunch, 243 with 1 home run. It's really been a team-wide weakness all year. Even Cespedes, before he got hurt, wasn't hitting lefties.
And you know, you were talking earlier about, you know, the picking up Bautista, the Phillies, from waivers. I mean, that's what they would expect from him, right?
Probably platoon with Nick Williams in right field, I would assume. Popped up on the left side. Murphy battling the wind, and he stays with it to end the inning. Lester has his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. 3-1 Mets in the third. has been there for as long as I can remember Wrigley Field.
Yeah, it's one of the best. I mean, there's so many beautiful things about this ballpark. That's one of them.
Even the teams that aren't playing are listed. No game. No game Tampa Bay, Atlanta. No game Milwaukee, Cincinnati. No game Pittsburgh, St. Louis.
You see the numbers there, Oakland and Houston. Well, certainly number one is not pitching against number one. It's where the person alphabetically comes in the program. So
got to buy a scorecard.
There you go.
They used to have that at Shea also. They had the same thing where you had to buy the scorecard to know who the pitchers were in code.
So Brett Anderson, A against
Right.
Garrett Cole. There's your two number ones.
There's the scorecard and lists the pitchers. Now, when you get to September, it gets really complicated when you've got 18 or 19 pitchers.
I was always a 3 to 5.
Never a 1?
No, always the back of the first row in school, too.
Well, he had Aguilera.
Yeah.
Bereni. Baez drills one down the left field line. He's got himself an extra base hit. Run down in the corner by Conforto, and Baez pulls in with his second hit of the night, a leadoff double. His 35th double and his 71st extra base hit of the season. He is having himself quite a year.
I think that's a changeup that was supposed to be down and in. Just sat right in the middle of the plate, rocketed down the left field line by Baez.
So far to that corner, 355 feet, and then the ball just died in the corner. And if the situation were different, if he weren't leading off the inning, I think Baez would have had to have been thinking about a triple.
Exactly.
These corners are the deepest. I think even deeper than Coors Field. I think Coors Field one is 347, the other's 350.
Yeah.
Here it's 355 and 353. Here's Rizzo, drove in a run with a double into the right field corner his first time, and he grounds this one right at Reyes. That'll advance the runner. So a productive out moves Baez to third with one away. There's the close-up of the pitcher list. Zamora will always be number 16 or greater.
How about having 16 pitchers?
Well, it includes guys on the DL. You got Swarzak and Wall, guys who are not on the active roster right now. Peterson. So they're giving you leeway because they, you know, it used to be they tried to keep up with who was in the big leagues and only list those guys. But now there's so much roster churn with relief pitchers. They're trying to get a little more public service oriented. Here's Ben Zobrist, infield back up the middle with a 2-run lead, and a first pitch curveball fouled off.
So we came into this game talking about that Noah Syndergaard has pitched well. He has not dominated. This is a situation where you have to dominate. You need a strikeout here. Let's see what he does against the veteran Zobrist.
Zobrist shot one through the hole on the left side his first time up. That's playing the same way they played him first time, with Rosario shaded toward the bag.
So you have a pitcher that is trying to get an at-bat with no contact, and a veteran hitter who's just trying to put the ball in play.
Gets jammed, rolls one down to Flores. Baez will have to hold, and that's the second out. Syndergaard breaking Zobrist's bat with a slider running in on him, and that's the second out.
I think the tough part for Baez on that play, since he broke his bat, ball was in the air. It wasn't hit exactly on the ground, so he couldn't go on contact.
I would have been very interested to see if Baez had that to do all over again, because the scouting reports right now will tell you that Wilmer Flores can't really throw the ball. So, and he came about 50 feet down the line, almost daring Wilmer to throw it across the diamond, but Wilmer's not really in that mode right now. Here's Hayward, and he takes a slider low and in for ball one. Hayward struck out his first time up. So Syndergaard with a chance to get through this inning after the leadoff double by Baez. And he pops a fastball into Hayward, 1-1. The Cubs came to Citi Field late May, early June, and swept a 4-game series. Syndergaard didn't pitch in that series. It was right after he went on the DL with the finger problem. And it was the start of the June swoon for the Mets when they went 5-21 in the month.
I was going to say nothing good happened in June.
Well, it's almost as though the Cubs put them in that slump. I mean, they had a rough second part of May, but June is when it all fell apart, when they just couldn't score at all. Lester pitched the last game of that series and held the Mets scoreless for 7 innings. Cubs start the night with the best record in the National League at 76-53. Riding a 5-game winning streak, 4 games ahead of the Cardinals, who have been surging throughout August, but so far the Cubs have held them off. And Hayward takes ball 4. First walk of the night for Syndergaard. The Cardinals are 19-5 in August after beating the Rockies yesterday. Behind the incredible Matt Carpenter. 4 doubles yesterday.
Just that's all.
The Milwaukee's, you know, they were on top for part of the season, but hard for them to hang in there against that Cardinals surge. But Milwaukee is right now sitting in the second wild card spot, right behind the Cardinals, and a game ahead of the Rockies. So they're still there. Here's Contreras with first and third and 2 out. He grounded out to third base his first time up. And that misses inside, ball 1. We talked about Baez as a top National League MVP candidate. Certainly Carpenter's in that conversation as well. But they're not alone. I mean, there are half a dozen guys who you can make a case for. With 5 innings to go. That gets behind Plawecki, and that'll bring in a run. Slider that Plawecki couldn't handle. Baez races home, and it's now 3-2 New York.
Well, I think that Plawecki just reached for this with his glove. He didn't move his body to get out over in front of it. Watch, he tries to backhand it. And you just can't do that with a guy on third. It's just a baseball sin for a catcher.
They'll score at a wild pitch, only the second wild pitch of the season for Syndergaard, but one that Plawecki certainly could have handled better. So now it's 3-2, and the tying run is in scoring position with 2 out. 2-0 count to Contreras with Kyle Schwarber on deck.
Got to have some feel against Contreras. Not as much this year, but when he was great in RBI situations last year, he loved to hit the ball up the middle to the right side. That's what he favored.
It's a fastball running in on him and fouls it off, and it's 2-2. Hayward at second and 2 out. And that one trickles behind Plawecki, but Hayward did not read it well, and he'll stay at second. He didn't see it because Plawecki's body was shielding him, and he couldn't see the ball was behind him.
Well, the hardest ball for a guy on second to read. This one through the 5 hole, so a couple of mistakes here by Plawecki. And you can see, I can't see the ball. That means that Jason Hayward can't see the ball. And he does not want to make the third out at third base when you're trailing by a run. You see his went to his eyes. I just could never pick it up.
So now it's 3-2 to Contreras. It's 2 balls that have gotten behind Plawecki during this turn at bat. And he's going to go out to talk to Syndergaard before they throw the next pitch.
Yeah, they've had a little trouble here in the last couple of innings trying to get on the same page. Plawecki called for the fastball in, the one he threw in this at bat 2 pitches before that. Contreras kind of ate him up inside. Noah did not want that pitch, so Plawecki went out and made sure they get it right.
This is a place that Kevin Plawecki likes to play well. He was born in Illinois, grew up in Indiana, came to games at Wrigley Field as a kid. Three and two to Contreras, and he grounds one weakly. Tough play for Frazier on the charge. He can't pick it up cleanly, and everybody's safe. It'll be an infield hit for Contreras. It's going to be hard to throw him out anyway because Contreras runs pretty well, but Frazier unable to make the connection. And the inning continues for Schwarber.
I think Frazier would have put this in his back pocket even if he got to it. Had to go so far, would have been throwing back to his right while moving left. And Contreras runs all right for a catcher.
So an intentional walk will be granted to Schwarber. This is interesting. You got Lester coming up next, and the Mets will push the go-ahead run into scoring position with the intentional pass.
It's a play that's unusual, but I like it. Schwarber can rock your world if he gets a hold of one.
So nursing a one-run lead, Mickey Callaway willing to push the go-ahead run into scoring position to get Syndergaard up against Lester with the bases loaded and 2 out. Lester struck out his first time, and he goes after a first pitch fastball, 0-1.
Lester was trying to hit a homer there.
Why not? You hit the ball in the air, you never know what might happen tonight with that wind gusting out to center field. Hayward, Contreras, and Schwarber the base runners with a run home here in the third. And it's lined to center field, and Lester's got a base hit, and the Cubs will take the lead. Hayward and Contreras both score. 4-3 Chicago. And that move blows up in Mickey Callaway's face as Lester drives home his 8th and 9th run of the year to give Chicago the lead.
Well, the play backfires, but what you're asking your pitcher who throws 100 miles an hour is to retire the opposing pitcher who's not that good of a hitter. Syndergaard didn't get the job done.
So 3 runs home in the inning. The Cubs lead this game for the first time.
You know, the one thing you're doing, though, is you're trying to compete against this man, and he's one of the best competitors in all the game.
Well, you mentioned he's become a better hitter. He's shown that off this year. 9 RBIs, I believe, is now most among major league pitchers. David Bodie had an infield hit his first time up. Syndergaard pushing towards 60 pitches, and we're in the third inning. This evening did not begin well for Noah with 4 straight hits. And he's having himself a rough time closing out this third. Gave up the leadoff double to Baez, but had a chance to get through it. He walked Hayward. Then the wild pitch brought in a run. Got a little unlucky on the Contreras infield hit, but then after Callaway decided to walk Schwarber, Lester made him pay. And now it's 2-0 to Bodie, whose name they are chanting. And he shoots one foul, 2-1. 8 hits in the first 3 innings of a game. Noah Syndergaard has never given up more. In a game in 2015 in San Diego, he gave up 8 hits in the first 3 innings. Remember that series?
That was, I remember.
That was the Syndergaard-Cashner series, where they both gave up double-digit hits and double-digit strikeouts in less than 5 innings. It had, what, had never been done before?
Ever.
And then they did it back-to-back nights. I would always remember that.
Yep.
Bodie takes a rip and comes up empty, 2-2. Murphy would be next. Figured this might be a high-scoring night because of the wind blowing out. barely had an impact so far, and there've already been 7 runs scored. Bodie lifts one foul. I mean, the only home run would have gone out with the wind blowing in.
Yeah.
Might not have gone quite as far. Two on, 2 out, 2-2 to Bodie. And he struck him out with a slider. And Syndergaard finally puts the 3rd inning to bed. His 3rd strikeout, but the Cubs score 3. 2 of them driven in by Lester. 4-3 Chicago. Jacob deGrom having a year for the ages. Cole Hamels having a month for the ages after being traded from Texas to the Cubs. They go head to head tomorrow night. The City Probables. Wednesday afternoon, Jason Vargas against right-hander Alec Mills, who makes a 2nd big league start.
Well, quite a matchup tomorrow. It's going to be fun.
And the way the wind's supposed to blow out tomorrow, too. Jose Reyes leads off. That's down a run as they come to bat in the 4th.
Vargas gets the good day, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to blow in and get much cooler on Wednesday. It's also supposed to have rain tomorrow night, so who knows what role that plays. Reyes gets tied in a knot on that cutter, and it's 1-1. Jose flied out to left his first time up.
Best cutter of the night for Jon Lester.
They sprained something. Into center field, and Hayward has it measured. 1 out. So Lester, after a very rough beginning to this game, now has the lead, which he provided, and he's retired 5 in a row.
Yeah, you got a feeling that he's settling in, you know.
Sure, the base hit probably works in his favor in that regard as well.
Well, you know, you feel responsible as a pitcher when you've given up 3 runs in 3 innings, and to be able to get it back offensively puts you sometimes in a better state of mind.
Lucky takes curveball for a strike. Kevin Walken scored a run in the 2nd, but then had trouble blocking a wild pitch that got the Cubs rolling in that third inning. Lester has him flailing at the cutter, and it's 0-2. Syndergaard waits on deck. Well, Lester's a fly ball pitcher on a day that is not conducive to a fly ball pitcher. He's got 8 fly ball outs, no ground outs, and he strikes out Plawecki for his second strikeout of the night.
So think about that about curveball to start, cutter under his hands, and paint on the outside corner. Can't throw it any better than that.
So 2 out and nobody on for Syndergaard, who walked on a 3-2 pitch his first time up. That's got a run in the first and 2 in the second. Cubs got a run in the first and 3 in the third. And who knows where this game is going to wind up. Both these teams have been getting extraordinary starting pitching lately. You mentioned the Cubs last 10 games, their starters 1.67. The Mets last 9 games 1.39 from their starters. What a bizarre circumstance yesterday. Steven Matz gives up 1 run in 7 innings, and the Mets lose the game 15-0.
I was in Tampa and I saw your score, and the game I was doing got done earlier. So it was 1-0, and then by the time I saw the score again, it was 15-0, and I thought they made a mistake.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a mistake. Only once in history before had a pitcher gone 7 innings, given up 1 run, and had his team lose by double digits. It was Kerry Wood with the Cubs in 2003 against the Pirates. He gave up 1 run in 7 innings. They lost 10-0, but Mets did him 50% better. Mets gives up 1 run in 7, and they lose 15-0. Again, 3-2 to Syndergaard, and he flies one into shallow left. Baez out, Schwarber in, and Schwarber takes care of it, and that retires the side. 7 in a row set down by Lester as he sets the Mets down after getting his first lead. 4-3 Cubs in the fourth. The city of the big shoulders. Chicago, Illinois. Great city. All lit up. On the road in Chicago, presented by Old Dominion. Second city. Windy city. City of the big shoulders. The Twinkie was invented by Chicago.
By Jimmy Dewar? Like Dewar's Scotch?
I don't know.
He wanted something to go with the Scotch?
I think that's really a go with.
Oh.
I mean, have you ever dipped your Twinkie in Scotch?
No.
No.
No. not a Scotch drinker or a doers or a Twinkies eater, but
you know, those things can always change.
Yep.
Are you a deep dish Chicago pizza guy?
That's not pizza.
That's exactly right. That's the right answer. Daniel Murphy up for the third time. He's doubled down the left field line and fly it to center, 1 for 2.
Now I'm trying to be a New York wiseacre there, but
no, it's true. It's a lovely delicacy.
It's good.
Yeah, it's deep dish tomato pie, but it's not pizza. Change up from Syndergaard. It's 1-1 to Murph, with Javier Baez and Anthony Rizzo to follow. It has been a rough first 3 innings for Syndergaard. Took him 63 pitches to negotiate the first 3, and finds himself behind in this game despite early run support. And Murph takes a fastball for a strike, and it's 1-2.
Murph talking to the umpire. Never seen that before.
He knows the umpires better than the umpires' wives know them. He talks to them all the time.
He does.
1-2 coming, and it's lined into center field. Murph's got another hit. His second hit of the night. Now 11 for 26 as a Cub. And the 9th hit against Syndergaard tonight.
Went with the curveball. A new wrinkle by Syndergaard against Murphy. Still doesn't work. Swatted up the middle by number 3.
Gabe.
Look at that. He just hit.
Well, Noah's been pitching out of the stretch all night. Cubs are 6 for 12 with 2 walks against Syndergaard in the stretch. Baez already has 2 hits tonight, a single and a double. And Noah catches the outside corner, 0-1.
You know, that's what I was talking about before. When you work real hard in between starts to try to work on being quicker to the plate out of the stretch, sometimes you have to make sure you don't lose your stuff when you're pitching out of the stretch as well. That's more important than how quick you are to the plate. You know what I'm saying, right?
I totally know what you're saying, and I guess my question is, it was a good slider by Syndergaard, 0-2. How does that work exactly, right? I mean, you're trying to quicken up your delivery, but what is it that would affect your stuff when you're trying to get quicker?
Well, you have to have people around you that are going to tell you the truth, and what you have is kind of like a curve, and once you get to that curve where your ability to be quick to the plate is compromising how good your stuff is to the plate, that's where you stop it.
And he strikes out Baez on 3 pitches. A couple of nasty sliders got Baez to chase. That's the 4th strikeout for Noah. 1 out and 1 on. Let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve.
Gary, we talk about quickening up to the plate, but what exactly does that mean? What specifically is Noah Syndergaard working on? And it's really something that Dave Island has talked about from jump. It's a little phrase that he uses called graze the thigh, touch the sky. Basically meaning just get the ball out of your glove and up over your shoulder. Syndergaard, and you watch him because he's still not quite comfortable with it. He almost takes the ball back in 2 parts, where he brings the ball directly back, stops, and then back up over.
Rizzo drives one to center. Jackson diving, and he makes the shoestring catch. Beautifully done by Jackson on a ball that was sinking. And he takes a base hit away from Rizzo for the 2nd out.
Well, it's interesting. Sometimes when you have the wind blowing out, that liner that usually will be a hit will stay in the air just a bit longer, giving a talented fielder like Jackson the opportunity to make the catch.
Now Ben Zobrist with 2 out and a runner at first.
Now, Gary, one thing that Syndergaard has gotten better on the last couple of starts, including tonight, is he was tipping his pitches. The coaches noticed before, I shouldn't say tipping his pitches, but tipping his move. The coaches noticed when he came off the DL, he was actually rocking forward and then coming back. And so forget about trying to lessen your time to home plate. It doesn't matter what your time is if the Phillies, as they did when they went 5 for 5, can pick that little tick up. He's wiped that out both tonight and the last start.
Steve's report tonight brought to you by Volkswagen. Change up off the plate to Zobrist, 2-1, 2-0.
Well, the Mets are not wearing two-tone uniforms. It's just it is so hot here that he has completely sweated through his shirt. Zobra's shaking his head like, wow, that's a good pitch. 2-0. Changeup. Yeah, no rock, straight shoulders, straight to the plate. That's nice.
Doesn't have to worry much about the base runner here. I don't think Murph's going to be stealing on that bad wheel. He's only attempted one this year. And Zobrist gets another changeup, and it's 2-2. It's 3 in a row Noah's thrown him. Zobrist hooks that slider foul.
Hey Ron, real quickly, one question I had from something that Dave Island said today about Syndergaard is that he may not never be fully comfortable getting that quick motion, but that it doesn't need to be every time. It just needs to be occasionally so that the runners know he has it. You think that's true?
That's absolutely true, but that's having a feel, Steve, for the running game. Knowing when a runner is going to be more runner-ish, chance to run more.
Zobrist flies one to deep left. Back goes Conforto onto the track, and he backpedals and grabs it to end the inning. That ball took off the bat of Zobrist, but Conforto was equal to it. Mets with some fine outfield play to help out Syndergaard in the bottom of the fourth. Jackson picking one off before it can hit the grass to rob Rizzo, and then Conforto on the retreat to reel in the ball hit by Zobrist. Still 4-3 Cubs after 4. Hasn't been a great night for the pitchers, other than Lester's hitting.
No.
Lester with a 2-run single to put the Cubs in front in the third. He has settled in after a rough first couple. Syndergaard 9 hits allowed over the first 4 innings. Lester starts his third time through the order, and Rosario hits one right under Bodie and into left field, and he's aboard for a third straight time. 2 hits for Rosario, and that hot shot ate up the rookie third baseman. Bodie charged with an error, and the Mets have the tying run aboard.
Well, on the backhand, he doesn't get the glove down. Anticipated a little higher hop. Didn't work from the bottom to the top, and that ball just hit him in the foot.
That is the first error of David Bodie's major league career. And that's not bad for a guy who plays everywhere.
Yeah.
Played everywhere in the minor leagues and has done the same in the big leagues. There's Austin Jackson, who's already 2 for 2. Rosario takes another huge lead. He stole a base in the first inning that led to the first Met run. Not running this time, but Jackson takes up and away for ball one. Well, these are the liberties that players take with Lester if they're comfortable doing it.
Well, what will happen, Lester lately has started to bounce the throw over to Rizzo. One hop it.
I mean, that's an enormous lead, and he's picked off. Well, he just went too far. Lesson learned for Rosario. I mean, he went just absurdly far, and he made it easy for Lester. And that's the first out of the inning. 1-3-6 on the caught stealing.
Well, he's so far, and I don't know what advanced scouting report the Mets have, but he's been throwing over there. He either throws it in the air or one bounces it. Rizzo's on the bag waiting, and the quick move gets the sleeping Rosario.
I mean, it's one thing to go from 9 feet to 12 feet, but he went like to 16 feet. You can't go that far off the bag and expect that you're not going to get thrown out.
And it's also not 2016.
Right.
I mean, everyone in the game knows that he has worked really hard on it, and he's gotten better.
Two and one to Jackson, and Austin grounds one on the left side. Baez circles in to get it. 2 out.
Baez is so good that he can just style even on the most casual play. He just has a flair about him.
All right, so let's talk about just the National League since we see them more.
Okay.
Best defensive players overall in the National League.
Okay.
Arenado, Baez, Tucker Barnhart. Who else you got?
Well, I go with Baez because he can play 3 different positions. That's why I will go with him, and I think he just has a flair, and he can do it. He's a real difference maker defensively. Arenado is also ranks right up there, but he only plays one position, third base. Plays it better than anyone else, maybe other than Matt Chapman. And Barnhart, I love him as a catcher. I'd love to see the Mets have him as a catcher, but I have not seen enough of him. That's the only issue for me.
I mean, we see Ender Inciarte a lot. He's won a couple Gold Gloves. Jason Hayward has won, what, 5 Gold Gloves now? I mean, can you put outfielders in the same category as infielders and catchers when you talk about the impact they can have on games?
The elite outfielders, you can. We've seen Juan Lagares, when he's at his best, change a game. But it's the infielders. There's Jason Hayward. It's the infielders that get the most plays, and they're the ones that can make the biggest difference. And in today's game, with all the shifts, take away hits all the time.
Wilmer drills one into the stands foul.
It's interesting here at Wrigley Field. You've seen some of the netting continue down a little further than it does here in Chicago.
Here it goes just to the end of the dugout.
Yeah, the photographer's well. And that got somebody there. Shame.
Wilmer hits the changeup on the ground down to third, and Bodie throws him out to end the inning. Lester helped himself with the pickoff, and the Mets are done in the top of the 5th. Halfway through at Wrigley, 4-3 Chicago. What do you think about today's game?
Oh, that's a cutie.
Oh, the ice cream man's here. Can we get some ice cream?
I can't stand those SNY announcers. Yeah, mommy, those guys. They're horrible. They say bad things about our Cubbies. It's all right. It's not their fault.
Jason Hayward leads off in the bottom of the 5th and swings over a curveball. Hayward, probably the key at bat for Syndergaard in that 3-run 3rd inning. He had 2 out and a runner at 3rd. Chance to get through the inning. He walked Hayward, which set the stage for a 3-run inning that has the Cubs in front. Hayward gets one in the air to left, and Conforto measures it. Has to give a little ground with the wind. 1 out. Hey parents, your child could join us in the booth to call half an inning of a Mets game on SNY. Just go to sny.tv/kidcaster and enter your child's video audition for a chance to win the 2018 SNY Kidcaster contest. So you thought we had forgotten. 5 weeks to go. Maybe she could enter the Kidcaster.
She does. She's great.
She knows exactly where the camera is.
She knows high third. That's high third.
See, Steve sometimes has problems with that, but this young lady, she knows exactly which camera to face.
What a cutie she is. So Kidcaster, eh?
It's a little late in the season for the Kidcaster, isn't it? We usually do that a little earlier. Holding out right to the end. Another first pitch curveball by Syndergaard against Wilson Contreras, who had an infield hit and scored a run in the 3rd. Syndergaard trying to hang in despite what has been a rough night. He's given up 4 runs and 9 hits. And he goes right back to the curveball to get ahead on Contreras 0-2. So a little different weapon 3rd time around the batting order for Noah. Kyle Schwarber waits on deck. And he strikes him out on 3 curveballs. Plawecki makes the toss to complete the putout. Strikeout number 5 for Syndergaard. Well, we know that the young lady knows where the camera is. Does Steve? We'll find out now. Steve?
Yeah, I do. Right here. I'm looking at it right over here. There it is, guys. I thought I would chime in with some. Oh, it's over here. Oh, it's right over here. Okay, I see it. It's only year 5. I'll get it. You know, we've been looking at the Wrigley Field scoreboard out there and wondering why they list games that aren't happening. Why it says no game. No real great reason other than it's just a tradition since the scoreboard was in effect in 1938. Every day during the regular season, they use up all the spaces. In the postseason, though, they only use up enough spaces for the series that are going on.
Well, also it prepares them for tomorrow, right? The teams that are going to be playing tomorrow who have Monday off, they've got the matchups all set up.
Less to do.
Ready to go.
Now
I don't understand. How does she know where the camera is? How does she do that?
I don't know. She's great.
Future sideline reporter for SNY.
Future as in tomorrow?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe the Cubs television network. There's a report that the Cubs are ready to start their own network.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't they?
One and 2 to Schwarber, who was intentionally walked. Key decision for Mickey Callaway in this game. And he pops one straight up. Plawecki tracking it. Sheds the mask. Makes the grab. Side retired. Syndergaard's got his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. After 5, 4-3 Cubs. Houston, the Astros, after an early 4-run deficit, have gone in front of the A's 5-4 as they play the 5th. Start of their final series of the year for the top 2 teams in the AL West. Todd Frazier leads off for the Mets in the 6th inning against Jon Lester, who hasn't a lot of hits since the 2nd inning. Last 10 batters, the only one to reach was Rosario on the error by Bodie, and Lester picked him off. Frazier's been up twice and popped up both times. It'll be Frazier, Conforto, and Bautista for the Mets in the 6th. I was looking at the game that Lester started against the Mets in the League Championship Series 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Game 1. There's only one player in the lineup for the Mets tonight who played in that game. The starting shortstop for the Mets in that game was Wilmer Flores. Playing first base tonight. It's a lot of rings. You run out of fingers.
You can add a no-hitter in there if you wanted to.
Another pop-up by Frazier. Rizzo retreats and has it all the way. 1 out. 3 at-bats, 3 pop-ups for Todd. What did I read about Joey Votto? He hadn't hit an infield pop-up in like 8 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
For an out, right?
Right.
Yeah. You know who's famous for that when he was having his great years? Wade Boggs would never pop up. Now Fenway Park, of course, very intimate, but he hated hitting in Oakland because he would pop up for an out in that ballpark.
Well, here's Conforto, who delivered the most memorable swing of the night so far. A monstrous 472-foot home run to center field, his 19th of the year. And here it is.
Just first pitch fastball, and he was ready. And that was more of a line drive, not a soaring shot that got out of here in a second.
It was a 1-iron.
Yep. You know, no one can hit a 1-iron. Well, Michael can, I guess.
Is that true?
That's what they always say, that no one can hit a 1-iron.
You mean they can't get it to stick?
It's a very difficult club to hit because it doesn't have a lot of bounce, doesn't have a lot of angle to it. So unless you are a striper, a guy who stripes the ball when he hits it, hit a lot of ground balls.
The only things I know about golf are the things that you teach me, and then I forget them, and I ask the same questions again.
It's fine. It's fine. I love talking about golf, even though I don't play anymore.
Lester behind 3-1, and Conforto takes a rip at a fastball, and it's a full count.
You notice that Lester's ball has been down. His breaking ball, his changeup, that fastball there. So he has gotten into a groove, which you knew he would if the Mets didn't get enough off him early.
He's walked 2, both in the 2nd inning. He struck out 2. He's gotten 6 infield pop-ups tonight. And Conforto takes one low for ball 4. 3-2 changeup, and the Mets have a 1-out base run.
When you watch him, look at his head and his glove. His motion just does not move that head. Very simple, wide kind of action with his glove and his throwing hand. Very powerful motion. A guy who probably threw 95 when he first came up, but he still throws 93 hard enough.
Well, now Bautista, who is not yet a Philly and may never be. It's lined out to center and popped up to second base. You know, folks have asked today, why don't the Mets just, let Bautista go? Why are they holding out to make a trade?
Yeah.
And the answer is the Mets are paying a minimum salary. If a guy has a big contract and a team claims him, maybe you let him go to shed that contract off your books. There's no imperative with Bautista, so the Mets are trying to work out a deal with the Phillies where they get something back for him. Otherwise, they'll keep him.
And some people think that's one of the reasons that a lot of teams did not claim, who were ahead of the Cubs, Daniel Murphy off waivers, because what is he owed $3 or $4 million.
Sure. And he has the bulky knee, and there's some question about that. But that worked out for the Cubs, and we'll see. I mean, the Mets, again, there's no imperative to trade Bautista, but if they can get something for him, that's great. Snap throw by Contreras, and Conforto just got back. Contreras has picked off 7 runners that way this year, more than anybody else in the majors, and he almost got another.
He's the best. Did it in Game 5 of the NLDS last year. Just so quick, accurate, and the snap tag by Rizzo. Good base running by Conforto.
Have to be aware of that at all times. One and two to Bautista with Reyes on deck. And he goes down swinging for the second out. Third strikeout of the night for Lester. The other piece to the Bautista situation, as you look at that last pitch by Lester, an elevated fastball, is that Brandon Nimmo is ready to come off the disabled list.
That's right.
He's here today on the taxi squad, and the plan is to activate him tomorrow. So the Mets have to make space for him, and if they don't trade Bautista, then they'll have to make some other move. Jerry Blevins up in the Mets bullpen as Reyes bats, and it's down in the dirt on a curveball from Lester, and Contreras smothers it. There's Jerry. Syndergaard has thrown 86 pitches through 5. His spot is 2 batters away. And Reyes takes a strike from Lester, 1-1. Jose tonight is flied out twice to left and to center. Conforto just 2 stolen bases this year. And the breaking ball bounced foul. 1-2. Full house at Wrigley on a hot Monday night. Two and 2 to Reyes. Kevin Plawecki would be next. Lester up over 90 pitches.
I think this will be the last inning for him.
Reyes lines one back to Lester, who snags it. He went down, his glove went up, and that little pearl found its way into the leather. Side retired. He pitches, he hits, and he fields his position. Sometimes in a way that you don't expect. 4-3. Noah Syndergaard still out there chucking in the bottom of the 6th. Tommy La Stella will bat for Jon Lester and takes fastball low and in for ball 1. La Stella leading the major leagues with 19 pinch hits this year. 19.
Best pinch hitter in baseball.
Not getting near Jose Morales territory. Morales up 28. John Vanderwall. Some of them are in the same neighborhood.
So Rusty have a couple of years late where he hit the 20 mark.
Steve Cishek up in the Cubs bullpen. He'll pitch in the 7th inning. Syndergaard's retired 6 in a row. And Stella fouls back a 2-0 fastball. David Bodie on deck, and then Daniel Murphy. They're the pinch hitting numbers for La Stella.
9 RBI.
Ground ball right at Reyes, and he throws out La Stella, who still has 19 pinch hits. 1 out.
You know, if you look at, I used to have these numbers in my book. I don't have it anymore. But if you look at some of the greatest players in the game, I'm talking about Mays and Aaron, and you look at their pinch hitting. I mean, you know, they played every single day. But some of the greatest players could not get a hit when they pinch hit.
Well, I don't know if you read the post-game quotes after the Mets-Nats game yesterday.
Obviously, I didn't.
But Bryce Harper said, and I quote, "I am a terrible pinch hitter." Well, he had a 3-run pinch hit double that busted the game open.
He had 2 hits, didn't he?
He did. Well, the second one wasn't. But he came up as a pinch hitter, and he delivered, and then said after the game, "I'm a terrible pinch hitter." Well, there you go. Bodie chops one on the ground. Nice big hop for Reyes, and there are 2 out. And Syndergaard, in his best stretch of the night, is now retired 8 in a row. Only had 92 pitches working in the 6th inning, but he is due a turn at bat when the Mets come to bat in the 7th. Daniel Murphy up for the 4th time, already a single and a double. What new? Came into the day with a lifetime .390 average against the Mets. He's raised that. Came into the day lifetime over 400 at Wrigley Field. He's raised that.
Murph, it's almost like he's running through a litany of thoughts about what he's going to get from Syndergaard.
Game 2 of this series tomorrow night. Another marquee pitching matchup with Jacob deGrom and Cole Hamels slated to go head to head. Coverage begins at 7:30 tomorrow night right here on SNY. Three 3-0 now to Murphy. Oh, that Jacob deGrom. What a year.
23 straight starts, 3 runs or less.
Just one behind Doc's record.
He has a chance to get 250 plus strikeouts.
That's ball 4, so Murphy's on base for the 3rd time, this time with a 2-out walk. 3rd walk of the night for Syndergaard. See who has the plate tomorrow. Ramon DeJesus will have the plate.
I don't know him well enough. I haven't seen him behind the plate.
Only one thing matters to Jacob deGrom,
yeah.
and that's that he's not Tony Randazzo.
That's right. That's right. I asked Jacob when we saw him the day after the game. I said, "Boy, you got kind of hot out there." He said, "Wouldn't you?" And I knew exactly what he meant.
He said it wasn't right down the middle, but it was close enough to right down the middle that, you know. Baez is 2 for 3, a single and a double. Murphy takes off. He got a great jump, and Plawecki has no chance to throw him out. Daniel Murphy running on a bad wheel, his 2nd stolen base of the year, and he just got a ridiculous jump against Syndergaard.
Well, that's just falling asleep at the wheel. You got to throw one over on the Murph just to let him know you're thinking about him. You could tell from up here that he was going to steal that base as soon as he took his lead.
26 steals now against Syndergaard in 29 attempts. And the league's leading RBI man at the plate looking to drive him in. One more than his teammate Steven Matz, and they have more than anybody by far. What's amazing is that a relief pitcher's on that list.
Yeah.
I mean, 17 steals against a relief pitcher. Prorate that out. He's had more trouble than Syndergaard or Matz.
But he strikes out the world. So
you're saying it's only inherited runners who are stealing? 1-1 to Baez. 97 RBIs for the season. And he pops it up. Plawecki might have a play as that wind blows it back toward the field. Nope. Lands in the 4th row. There's more foul territory directly behind the plate at Wrigley than there is up the lines. But that wind has been such a factor tonight on balls hit in the air. The last one that Plawecki caught in the 5th inning almost blew back into fair territory.
Baez, he thought that was going to be a pop up to the catcher.
Didn't need the bat anymore, but now he does.
See, that C flap works in a lot of different ways. It hides bad language too.
Almost like covering your mouth with your glove.
Yeah.
1-2 coming. And the slider off the plate. Down to chase sliders his last time up. Struck him out on 3 pitches. Anthony Rizzo would be next. Syndergaard retired the first 2 in this inning, but a walk to Murphy, who stole second. And now 2-2 to Baez. 100 pitches deep into this evening. 101 is just off the plate. Full count. Three-two coming. Struck him out. Syndergaard with the curveball strikes out Baez. Strikeout number 6 for Noah, as his tenure in the game likely comes to an end on a high note. He retired 9 of his last 10 batters. Still 4-3. All right, Doug, here we go to the 7th, and the veteran side armor Steve Cishek is in.
Well, the Mets have seen plenty of Cishek. His 63rd game. He's had an awfully good season for the Cubs in this role right here as setup man. Was a closer when he was with the Miami Marlins.
Maybe his best season. Plawecki skies one down the left field line over toward the corner near the wall. It's out of here. Kevin Plawecki ties the game with his 5th home run of the season. Plawecki on the second pitch thrown by Cishek goes deep, and the Mets get even at 4.
Those are the kind of home runs that you will get on a night like this. That's kind of really a pop-up to left field. Hanging break ball inside. Plawecki hits it straight up in the air. And you saw Schwarber, the left fielder, didn't even look at it or run after it because he knew it was gone.
Just the 3rd home run that Cishek has given up this year, so that gets the Mets even. Now Jeff McNeil is going to bat for Syndergaard. McNeil held out of the lineup tonight after tweaking his quad yesterday, but not serious. Expected to be in the lineup tomorrow. And with this at bat, as a pinch hitter, he puts an 11-game hitting streak on the line. And he takes a fastball down from Cishek for ball 1. Just the 3rd home run Cishek's allowed this season. So Plawecki, who had a rough time with a wild pitch that got by him that cost the Mets a run, gets that run back. McNeil hitting .340 through his first 106 big league at bats. Syndergaard done for the night. Mets hoping to get him a lead here in the 7th. And a check swing, he went around on the fastball by Cishek, 1-2. And McNeil pops one up into shallow center. In comes Hayward to call. And then the ball sails on him with that wind, and he puts it away for the first out. Even guys who play here all the time sometimes have difficulty with this Wrigley Field wind. It blows in more than it blows out, but when it blows out, it has such an enormous impact on the way the game is played.
So Cishek coming into this game 3-6, 37 games, 5.24 ERA. Always a struggle against the Mets.
And that goes back to his days as a closer in Miami. Mets always seem to have his number. Ahmed Rosario is 2 for 3 tonight. He stole a base. He scored a run in the 1st inning. He drove in a run in the 2nd. Then he got aboard on an error in the 5th and got picked off by Lester after taking a little too much of a liberty against Lester. Slider in for a strike, and it's 2-1. Lester went 6, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, a home run, 94 pitches. It'll be no decision for him. Jerry Blevins getting ready to pitch the bottom of the 7th for New York. Rosario gets one in the air to center field, but Hayward has room, and he backpedals to make the catch. And it didn't quite get up in the jet stream, and Rosario's retired for the 2nd out. Now the Cubs bullpen has been superb this year, 2nd best in the National League behind the Diamondbacks. But remember, their closer is out. Brandon Morrow is on the disabled list with a biceps injury. Pedro Strop has been closing for them recently.
And they don't know when they're going to get him back, or if they're going to get him back.
They picked up Brandon Kinsler from the Nationals before the trading deadline.
Jesse Chavez has done a great job for them. Got him from Texas.
They've done well with their acquisitions from Texas, haven't they?
Yeah.
Hamels and Chavez. 0-2 to Jackson, who's 2 for 3 tonight. Drove in a 1st inning run. And that just misses outside. 1-2. Steve Cishek, now 32 years old. Falmouth, Mass native.
Nice place to grow up.
And he strikes out Jackson with the sinker to end the inning. But the Mets get even. Kevin Plawecki greets CHN with a fly ball home run. 5th of the year for Plawecki, and it's 4-4 at the 7th inning stretch in Chicago.
Toward the corner.
Piazza comes to plate against Terry Mulholland, and he hits this absolute seed down the left field line, which made it just a startling play from a play-by-play standpoint on the radio.
Gary Cohen's 30th anniversary series presented by Spectrum continues as he takes us back to June 30th, 2000, the night Mike Piazza and the Mets had Old Shea rocking.
Jerry Blevins on to pitch the bottom of the 7th. Anthony Rizzo leads off and takes curveball outside for ball 1.
Jerry's numbers this year, of course, his second half has been much better than his first.
He's got a streak going of 10 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings as he comes into a tie game in the 7th to face Rizzo, who's 0 for 8 against him in his career. And he takes a curveball for a strike, and it's 1-1. Rizzo delivered an RBI double back in the 1st. Then he was robbed of a hit his last time up. A nice diving play by Austin Jackson in center field. Syndergaard started poorly, finished strong. So did Jon Lester. Each got through 6 innings tonight. And Rizzo takes a fastball for a strike, and it's 1-2. Statcast AI powered by Amazon Web Services, and you see that Rizzo can use the whole field, and yet the Mets play him as a dead pull hitter on the infield. He will bunt for hits too in appropriate spots. Not here with 2 strikes on him. And the curveball off the plate, 2-2.
So it's interesting. They've got once and 2 strikes now. You've got in the 35% zone. You've got Reyes and Rosario kind of covering the ends of that crust.
You got 2 guys in the 18% zone on the right toward the line.
Lefty-lefty matchup.
Drew Smith, Daniel Zamora stay busy in the Mets bullpen. You got the switch hitting Zobrist on deck, and then another left-hand hitter in Hayward for Blevins. Zobrist has good numbers against Blevins. Hayward does not. Two to Rizzo. And he just missed inside with the fastball. Jerry wanted that call from Eric Cooper.
That's a
3-2.
You know, the better hitters, sometimes they get the benefit of the doubt. Let's see the pitch cast. I thought it was right on the knees, inside corner. Let's check what the pitch cast says. No, it's inside. It's a good call by Eric Cooper. I tip my hat if I had one.
I usually think with Rizzo, if you don't hit him, it's got to be a strike.
Yeah.
He's so close to the plate. 3-2 coming, and he fouls off the fastball. I mean, does anybody in the National League stand closer to home plate than Anthony Rizzo?
No. And he doesn't give an inch.
I mean, even the guys who get hit more than he does, like Nimmo and Dietrich, they're not as close. Eighth pitch of the at bat coming to Rizzo. And he hits that one down the line. That's going to stay just foul. Oh, he barely missed an extra base hit. Just ducked away at the last moment.
Wow.
I mean, it missed the chalk by an inch. The Cubs are going to challenge the call. Fair foul calls that land behind the base umpire are challengeable. We haven't seen many of these in games involving the Mets since replay began. But the Cubs are going to challenge this one, saying that it hit the chalk.
I didn't see any chalk come up.
No, neither did I.
But I don't know. That looked like it hit the line.
It sort of did. I mean, is it not actual chalk?
Yeah, sometimes they have a tape, but I don't think that's tape. I think it's chalk. That's tape.
That is not actual chalk.
Yeah,
so
that's why.
That's why. See, normally, if it hits the chalk, something moves, but that is tape, not chalk. And so it is possible that the ball did hit the tape and is fair.
It did hit the tape.
And that's what the replay umpires, Fielding Colbert and Dana DeMuth, in the replay center will have to decide. It looks fair.
Where's Johnny McEnroe when we need him? I know he'd make this call. No problem.
He had Cyclops.
Yeah, that's. And now, it went out of play, so it'll be a ground rule double. I was going to say, where do you put Rizzo?
Yeah, they'd have to put him at second.
Yeah.
Well, Rizzo waiting to find out. And they do say it's fair, and it will be a double for Rizzo. Does he have to run to first?
He just asked, do I have to run around from first to second, or can I run just to second base? Another where no one knows what the heck's going on. But double for Rizzo.
So the Cubs win the challenge. And that puts the go-ahead run at second base with nobody out. First ever hit for Rizzo against Blevins. He had been 0 for 8 before that at bat. So Jerry has some heavy lifting to do. He'll face Zobrist, who's 1 for 3 tonight, 3 for 7 with a home run against Blevins in his career. Let's have the corners in as though they think Zobrist might be bunting. It's hard to believe.
No, he's going to take an at bat here. He'll try to punch it to that right side. Looking for a base hit that way.
Not sure I'd have Wilmer that far in at first. You like to have some fielding depth, especially since you think Zobrist is going to hit it to the right side.
Well, and the other thing is that he's not bunting. So play a little deeper, because I don't think Wilmer's going to throw the ball to third either if the ball's hit to him. So just get an out.
Rizzo was up with a runner at second in the first inning, and Rosario was so concerned about the base runner at second, he left the hole open on that left side, and Zobrist was able to shoot it through. That was batting left-handed. Now the hole open again with Zobrist batting right-handed.
Still don't like it. Rizzo's not going to go anywhere with no outs. You know, you got to have a feel for when guys steal and don't steal. There's no outs. There's no way he's going. Plus, Rizzo doesn't have great speed. Blevins quick to the plate. So one quick fake and get as deep as you can. Cover as much ground as you can.
Changeup misses, and it's 2-0 to Zobrist with Hayward on deck. So you got Hayward, a left-hand hitter, then Contreras, a switch hitter, then Schwarber, another left-hand hitter. That call reversal on the Rizzo double is just enormous in this game. By the way, Rizzo now has 4 doubles in his last 7 at-bats, including 2 tonight.
Jerry and Plawecki taking an awful long time to come up with a pitch. He has 2 of them, really, a fastball and a curveball.
Threw a changeup on the
yeah, you're right.
second pitch to Zobrist. After you've had a discussion with a runner at second base, do you want your catcher giving a sign?
No. But I want my infielders to know that what pitch is coming. It'd be helpful if one of them came in.
And Zobrist bunting foul. And he wasn't bunting to sacrifice. He was bunting for a hit, running up. It's an interesting call on Zobrist's part.
Especially on a 2-0 count. But he's got to think, Gary, that 2-0, he's going to get the same pitch 2-1.
Frazier still playing behind the bag at third, which is why Zobrist probably tried it in the first place. Rizzo not much of a lead at second with Rosario right behind him. And Zobrist fouls back a fastball, and it's 2-2.
You see him trying to go to the right side with that swing.
Every game of importance to the Cubs, who hold a 4-game lead over the Cardinals in the National League Central. St. Louis off tonight. But they've been raging through August, and the Cubs have won 5 in a row to keep them 4 games back. And Zobrist just got a piece of that curveball to stay alive.
Well, that's the right pitch by Jerry, too, because you make Zobrist, if he puts it in play, probably pulls it to Frazier. Good pitch down. Just by that much.
By the way, just in reference to Zobrist trying to bunt for a hit a moment ago, Zobrist has 1 bunt hit in the last 2 seasons. So it's not something he does often, at least not successfully. No hint of that now on 2-2.
And he drives one deep left center field, headed toward the gap, and it's into the ivy. The Cubs will take the lead. Rizzo scores. Zobrist to second with an RBI double, and Chicago's right back in front, 5-4.
You know, sometimes, and I've done this myself many times, you get too cute out there. He made him look really bad on the curveball and then tried to surprise him with a fastball after that bad swing. And Zobrist was ready. And back-to-back doubles here puts the Cubs ahead.
So Blevins sees his shutout string end at 10 2/3 innings. And Zobrist drives in his 49th run of the year.
Does something every game to help his team win.
Well, each team has employed 2 pitchers tonight, and every one of those 4 pitchers has given up a run in his first inning. Both the starters, Lester and Syndergaard, and both the relievers, Cishek and Blevins. Now Hayward, the batter. He's gone 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. And the curveball bounced foul. Hayward 1 for 7 in his career against Blevins. And the curveball off the plate, 1-1.
Hayward grounds one to the right side. Reyes ranges wide, knocks it down, and does not have the play. Well, it was going to advance the runner to third anyway, but Reyes unable to come up with it cleanly, and Hayward reaches safely. And now the Cubs have first and third and nobody out.
Well, a big hopper to the left kind of skidded on Reyes, and he could never recover.
Should be a base hit for Hayward, I would think. 3 straight hits against Blevins, who will exit now. Mickey Callaway wants the right-hander Drew Smith to come in and face Wilson Contreras. So Blevins, who had been on such a roll, gives up 3 straight hits in a run. He'll leave. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Drew Smith coming in. We'll be right back. Wilson Contreras carves the first pitch from Drew Smith, foul off the right side.
Boy, Smith is getting more and more highly leveraged spots to pitch in. Kind of protected early, but not anymore.
14th big league game. He pitched Saturday night against the Nats and worked a scoreless inning. First and third and nobody out. The Cubs have regained the lead here in the 7th and now looking for more. And you always have to watch the safety squeeze with the Cubs in this spot. Zobrist at third, Hayward at first. And the fastball on the corner to Contreras, 0-2. To Contreras, and he tries to lay off the curveball, and he stopped it in time. 1-2. We got Kyle Schwarber on deck. Daniel Zamora up in the Mets bullpen, so this could be a one-batter affair for Smith. Seth Lugo up alongside as well.
One for Smith, and maybe just one batter for Zamora.
We got the pitcher spot behind Schwarber. In tight, and Contreras had to get those hands out of the way. 2-2. Contreras has an infield hit in 3 at bats tonight. Schwarber next. Schwarber and Zamora could be your matchup. Talk about your tongue twisters. 2-2 coming, and a ground ball to the right side. Reyes gets the out at second. That's the only out they'll get as a run comes home. And the Cubs tack one on at 6-4. 4-6 fielder's choice erases Hayward. Contreras drives in a run as Zobrist comes in with the second run of the inning. So now 1 out and 1 on, and let's see. Looks like Mickey Callaway's going to leave Smith in to face Schwarber, who is 0 for 2 and an intentional walk tonight. And looks like Albert Almora coming out on deck to be a pinch hitter. And Schwarber takes the pitch low for ball 1. So that's interesting. The Cubs have 2 switch hitters on the bench in Ian Happ and their backup catcher Victor Caratini, but they'll have the right-hand hitter Almora ready to face Drew Smith.
Almora's been good off the bench. I think that's one of the reasons. It was interesting. We were talking earlier. I'll ask Mickey this question tomorrow, but earlier in the game when the Mets were ahead by 1, they had the infield in.
Right.
And now they're behind by 1 and played their middle infielders at double play depth. Weren't able to turn it. Gives an extra run to the Cubs.
Contreras sprawling back in. He'll steal the occasional base. He's got 4 and 5 tries this year. And Schwarber golfs one foul. 1-1. See what's going on in that big series in Houston. Astros with that 5-run third inning against Brett Anderson still lead 5-4 as they play in the 7th. First game of the final meetings of the year between the A's and the Astros, with Oakland a game and a half back. Schwarber takes a fastball strike, and it's 1-2. Seattle fading. 5 games back of Oakland for the second wild card spot.
Best story of the year, Oakland, to you?
They've been pretty fantastic. I'll give you another one, though.
Okay.
You just saw them. How about the Tampa Bay Rays?
Unbelievable.
9 games over 500. I mean, their playoff chances are just about nil. They're 9 games back in the wild card. But the fact that that team with that level of talent is 9 games over 500 is stunning to me.
They've used an opener 32 times to start the game. They've had 21 just bullpen games. And then Blake Snell wins when he pitches.
Yeah. Well, we saw him against the Mets earlier this year. He's the real deal. That's through the hole. Schwarber's got a base hit. Contreras around second. He's going to go to third. And Bautista's throw is too late. 4th hit of the inning for the Cubs. And all of a sudden, the Mets bullpen looking extraordinarily vulnerable. Gave up 14 runs in the last 2 innings yesterday. They've already been hit for a couple of runs here in the 7th, with the Cubs looking for more.
Yeah, fastball is supposed to be in. Caught most of the plate. And it's nice when you can have a catcher go first to third.
He's not quite Real Muto fast, but he can run.
And again, we said it before with no outs, but with 1 out, watch Almora with maybe the safety squeeze.
So Almora pinch hitting for Cishek, who gave up the home run, but now is pitcher of record on the long side. Almora just 2 for 23 as a pinch hitter this year, and he goes after a first pitch curveball for strike 1. So they keep track of these things now.
Yeah.
That's the 100th time this year that a Cubs base runner's gone first to third on a base hit. That's the most of any team in the majors.
I'd like to know what the Mets number is.
Less. And Almora went around on that curveball in the dirt, and it's 0-2. Blocked by Plawecki, who let one slip by him earlier in the game.
Well, it's such an outlier when you watch teams that are very aggressive on the bases and go first to third. You just don't see that from a lot of organizations anymore, as they're content to go base to base and wait for the big home run.
I have a number for you. As Zamora strikes out on 3 curveballs, and that's the second out of the inning. So the Cubs have gone first to third 100 times, most in the majors. The Mets have gone first to third 59 times, which is 23rd in the majors.
It's a big difference.
Now David Bodie will come up with first and third and 2 out. That was a really bad at bat for Albert Almora, but a nice effort by Smith to stay with his curveball when he realized it was working against the right-hand hitter.
It's almost like Almora came up and said, boy, he went after Schwarber with fastballs. That's what I'm going to look for. And he got 3 straight breaking balls and couldn't lay off any of them.
So now Bodie, who had an infield hit in the second, since then has struck out and grounded out. Well, they've been a second half team.
And if you ask Joe Madden, he'll say that some of the things that they do, like not taking batting practice in the second half, he makes his team not come to the ballpark until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, help with those second half numbers.
Which, frankly, is something I'm surprised more teams don't do.
Especially with the way they're studying everything else, whether it's sleep or flights or.
Well, I've really tried to process in my mind the fact that players spend so much more time in the ballpark now than they did a generation ago, and the impact that all that pregame work time has on their ability to stay fresh for the actual game, which is played every day in this sport.
That's right. You know, one of the reasons that players of my generation didn't go to the ballpark till late is the ballparks weren't great. You didn't want to be there. The locker rooms were just horrible, bad places to be in for too many hours.
Two and one to Bodie, and the fastball off the plate, and now Smith behind 3-1 with Daniel Murphy looming on deck. I would have to assume that if he walks Bodie here, that we'd see Zamora come in to face Murph.
Say, I'm pretty impressed with Bodie's at bats tonight. Hasn't got a hit and hasn't done a lot.
And he takes a borderline strike, and it's 3-2.
But he knows the strike zone.
He thought he knew that was ball 4, but he was wrong. At least Eric Cooper said he was wrong.
Cole's pitch. It's not a pitch you want to swing at. He can't handle this pitch. It's almost perfect on the knees and outside corner.
Wilmer tells Drew Smith he's going to play behind the runner at first. Schwarber will be taking off. Contreras at third. 3-2 with 2 out. And Bodie takes strike 3 call. Side retired. Same pitch, same spot. And Drew Smith finds his way clear. Back-to-back strikeouts for Smith to keep the Cubs from scoring any further after they get 2 in the 7th. pitch moves from right field to left field. Albert Zamora, who pinch hit, stays in center. Jason Hayward moves from center field to right field. And the skinniest man in baseball, Carl Edwards, will come on to pitch the 8th inning.
He might be a skinny man, but he's got a big arm. Having another big year this year. 73 games last year. ERA just under 3 this year. 2.36 for Edwards. Strikeouts 56 and 42 innings pitched.
6'3" tall, generously listed at 170 pounds. Wilmer Flores will lead off for the Mets. Let's check in with Steve.
Gary, last inning you guys were talking about the things Joe Maddon does with his players to keep them fresh. One of the things he does is have something he calls an American Legion week every year. We're actually in it right now, where there's no BP. He tells his guys just show up and play just like you did when you were playing American Legion ball. And just a note on how successful it's been coming into tonight when he has American Legion week. The Cubs are 18-2 in those games.
Wow.
He's like, come on, dinosaurs in baseball, wake up. This is how you do it now.
Wilmer's 0 for 3 tonight.
I love when catchers get down like that with that target. Remember Tony Pena used to do it. The Mets had a catcher, Junior Ortiz, that used to do it.
Benito Santiago.
There you go.
Flores, Frazier, and Conforto for the Mets in the 8th. And Wilmer fouls back the fastball from Edwards, 1-2. Jon Lester went the first 6, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits. There's Contreras getting down, which allows the home plate umpire to get lower too, which buys you more low strikes.
Yeah.
Curveball in the dirt, 2-2.
You know, the one thing you have to watch out, though, is that as a catcher, you get in those positions on certain pitches, and then when you call for a curveball and you're in a different position, you can't make that obvious. You still got to get in a lower position every once in a while for a breaking ball, so you're not giving away the pitches.
But who's going to give it away? I mean, as a hitter, you can't really peek.
No, but you could have your guy in the on-deck circle with a little whistle.
I mean, we see all the time catchers motion for the pitch to be up on a high fastball.
You wouldn't use it all the time, but as your on-deck guy, you could say, hey, listen, if he does that, big situation, you might hear me.
Well, we certainly see it so far. He was, he's down for the fastballs and up for the curveball.
But he was up for that fastball, so that alone will stop anyone from trying to get a tell. Fastball away again. 3-2 count. You probably want to be in a position to be more nimble.
Wilmer drives one to right center. Coming across is Hayward, and he picks it off. He has tremendous range in right field. That's why he wins the Gold Glove every year.
That ball off the bat was a flat out hit, and he made it look like an easy play.
One out and nobody on now. Todd Frazier, who's been up 3 times and popped up all 3.
I watched the pitcher yesterday throw a gem with a number 4 on his back. Carl Edwards Jr. with the number 6 on his back.
Well, he can't fit 2 digits.
That's right.
Tonight's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. Both Lester and Syndergaard started poorly, finished well. All the runs against both of them scored in the first 3 innings, and each of them pitched scoreless baseball through the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Fastball thrown by Frazier, and it's 1-2. Carl Edwards in his 4th year with the Cubs. He was a 48th round draft pick by the Texas Rangers. 48th round pick made good. Frazier grounds one right at Baez. And there are 2 out. And now a quick message from your Tri-State Porsche dealers. Told you it was quick.
Loud.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Conforto, who hit a blast to center field that may not have come down yet, back in the 2nd inning. He's also struck out and walked tonight, 1 for 2.
What number did you give? 472?
472.
Wow.
Longest home run by any Met in the StatCast era, which dates back to the beginning of Conforto's career in 2015.
You know, they moved the magician Baez into the biggest open space.
Maybe they should put him in the 3rd deck in center field.
That's right.
That's grounded down to first. Easy play for Rizzo. Edwards gets to help out, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Edwards in the top of the 8th. Still 6-4 Chicago. Device with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Concourse is down in the bowels of Wrigley Field.
They really made him a lot brighter and wider, and done a great job in their redoing of this old gem.
6th big league appearance for Daniel Zamora, and he gets to face the other Daniel, Murphy, leading off in the bottom of the 8th. And he gets that slider in for a strike. Daniel Zamora, through his first 5 appearances, has thrown his slider 88% of the time. I don't think I've ever seen that before. So far, it's working for him. Whoop. And he tries the fastball and misses away to Murphy. 2-1. Murphy has 2 hits and a walk today, a single and a double. Continues his prime ownership of Mets pitching since the day he left. And slider fouled off. 2-2.
Boy, he had a swing at that one. He's mad at himself for missing that pitch.
Daniel Zamora, the pride of Stony Brook University. He's a Seawolf.
Seawolf.
2-2 coming, and he struck him out with the slider. So Zamora gets the best of Murphy in their first meeting. There'll probably be more.
Murph's mad because he had one pitch to hit. He missed it. Zamora came back with a better slider this time and made a good hitter look bad.
It seems as though Zamora can shape that slider differently different times that he throws.
Oh yeah, when he's behind the count, you will see one that is not as doesn't break as much because he's trying to throw it for a strike. But once he gets ahead of hitters, especially the left-handers, he goes into a spin mode.
What's interesting about Zamora is that when he was in the minor leagues this year pitching at Binghamton, he was actually more successful against the right-hand hitters than he was against the left-hand hitters. And I asked, and I was told that he was throwing a similar percentage of sliders in the minors that he has so far in the majors.
I mean, can you just imagine what this breaking ball must have looked like Double-A kids?
Fastball in for a strike. He's already thrown more than his normal contingent of fastballs in this outing.
It's a left-hander who had the handlebar mustache, pitched for the Diamondbacks for a couple of years. He had an interesting name. He reminds me a lot of Zamora.
Baez down looking, and Zamora has back-to-back strikeouts to start the bottom of the 8th. I don't think we were talking about it.
Yeah, I'll come up with it. The other thing about Zamora now, you don't know because we haven't seen him enough. We haven't seen him go through a patch like every pitcher goes through where he's going to get hit and give up some runs. But boy, it's so far doesn't seem to be fearful of anything he comes into.
Well, I mean, you mentioned the pitch he threw to Murph.
Yeah.
He's thrown a couple of those, right? Hittable sliders that people haven't hit, and at some point they're going to hit it.
Yeah.
The question is how he reacts to that, and we haven't seen that yet. Rizzo has a pair of doubles in this game. His double leading off the 7th inning needed a video review after it was initially called foul, and it set the stage for a 2-run 7th, put the Cubs back in front. And Zamora throws another fastball, his 3rd in this inning, and he gets even on Rizzo.
Eddie Warman and our Chuck got the name Clay Zapata. Remember him?
Yes, I do.
So maybe that's why I remember him, because of both the Z's.
Oh, Rizzo gets a hold of one deep right field. Forget that. That's way back up in the bleachers. Daniel Zamora gives up a run for the first time in the big leagues, so now his slider has been hit. 7-4 Chicago. Rizzo's 3rd extra base hit of the day, his 22nd home run of the year.
Well, you just got to admire Rizzo. He stands right on that dish. He doesn't give an inch. And I think the breaking ball to Rizzo is less effective. Why? Because that pitch is on the outside part of the plate. Because he stands so close to the plate, it's more like the middle for Rizzo.
Well, said eventually he'd get hit, see how he reacts. I didn't expect it necessarily to come so quickly, but now's your moment to see how he reacts to the next hitter, Zobrist, who's 2 for 4 today, a single and a double, and he gets a first pitch slider in for a strike.
That one's on me, Daniel. Apologies.
First home run of the day for the Cubs. Mets have hit a pair. Tonight after the post game, it's Geico Sports Night. Oh, OBJ makes it back into our headlines. It's been a couple of days.
He signed a contract, so that's an important thing.
You mean there's actual news this time?
Yes.
Jesse Chavez gets up alongside Pedro Strop in the Cubs bullpen. Probably Strop if there's a save chance. Chavez if there isn't. Slider misses down to Zobrist, 1-2. One-two coming. Topped right back to Zamora. And he makes the play on Zobrist to retire the side. Rizzo's home run extends the Cubs lead. Mets come to bat in the 9th, down by 3. All right, thanks, Gary. Changes for the Cubs. Ben Zobrist plays his third position of the night. He'll move to second base. Ian Happ comes in to play left field. And Pedro Strop, who's been closing in the absence of Brandon Morrow, will go for his 11th save.
Yeah, Friday night he blew a save, but Strop, who usually is the 8th inning guy, you see his numbers. That's why the Cubs have been so good. Their bullpen has been outstanding.
Well, down by 3 runs in the ninth, Jose Bautista takes a home run swing on the first pitch.
Well, I don't even know what to say.
Might be his last plate appearance as a Met, with the news that Bautista has been claimed by the Phillies and that the two teams are trying to work out a deal. So maybe he was trying to go out with a flourish.
Yeah, you need base runners. I mean, that's obvious. And Strop, anyone who's faced Strop knows that he can be wild with his hat and with his pitches.
And he falls behind Bautista 3-1. Reyes and Plawecki to follow. Mets led this game 1-0 and 3-1. The Cubs took the lead in the third on Lester's 2-run single. The Mets tied it on Plawecki's home run in the 7th, but the Cubs got 2 runs right back to regain the lead in the bottom of the 7th. And that's outside, ball 4, and Bautista, after that home run cut on the first pitch, draws a leadoff walk. So it was an intimidating enough swing.
Oh, that's what it did.
See,
he knows the method to his madness. I didn't know that.
I think that there's just one way of doing things in this game, but they're coming up with new ideas all the time.
I've got to open my mind. I really do. They'll probably get Jesse Chavez up now.
So the Mets need one more base runner to get the tying run to the plate, and that Rizzo home run looms even larger now. Reyes hit a bullet back to Lester, who somehow snagged it his last time up. 0 for 3 on the night. Reyes got the start with McNeil banged up. McNeil did pinch hit and flied out in the 7th.
You can hear the crowd murmuring here.
Well, they've seen this act before.
Yeah.
Justin Wilson gets up alongside Jesse Chavez. It's the 7th time this year that Strop has walked the leadoff hitter in an inning. And now he falls behind Reyes 2-0, and Contreras is going to run it out there, and the rest of the infield will converge as well,
I mean,
along with the pitching coach Jim Hickey.
You can't get more people to come out there all at the same time.
Unless the outfielders join the conversation.
You know,
this is the limit.
Yeah, they used to have a closer here, Carlos Marmol, that used to go through the same situation. He ended up being a pitcher who could throw a slider for a strike more than he could throw his fastball.
Exactly. I see that sometimes. I remember even when Rick Ankiel had his meltdown in the postseason in 2000, he could still throw his curveball for strikes. He just couldn't get his fastball anywhere close. It's funny how that works. Maybe if he put his cap straight, the ball would go straight. Or maybe not. Well, he's thrown 6 in a row out of the strike zone after that first swing by Bautista. 2-0 to Reyes with Plawecki on deck. And Jose takes a knee-high fastball for a strike. And the Cub fans are happier.
That's the right play by Reyes. He had to take that pitch. Now he can go back to hitting.
And Jose chops one. Might be a double play. Zobrist with the flip, and Baez hangs on to it. Zobrist probably would have been better served taking that himself. Too slow on the flip, so they could only get one out. So Reyes aboard, and now Plawecki comes up. Plawecki homered to tie the game in the 7th, his 5th home run of the year. Jay Bruce has come out on deck to pinch hit. So if Plawecki could get on, Bruce would come up as the tying run. And Kevin takes a cutter on the corner for a strike, 0-1. Cutter is a relatively new piece of Strop's repertoire just the last couple of years, and throwing it more than ever to complement his fastball and slider. That's flared to right field. That's going to fall for a base hit, and the Mets will get the tying run to the plate. Plawecki on base for the 3rd time today. 1st and 2nd and 1 out, and Jay Bruce comes to the plate to pinch hit.
Well, pitch running in on Plawecki, but he fights it off. And a nice offensive game for Plawecki this evening.
And we're going to get a pitching change. Joe Madden waited for the batter to be announced. He's got the lefty up in the bullpen, and he's going to pull Strop, his closer of the moment, out and bring Justin Wilson in. 7-4 Cubs in the ninth. Not over yet. We'll be right back to Wrigley Field. Jay Bruce, the tying run at the plate. Justin Wilson in to face him with one out in the ninth. And Bruce swings through a first pitch fastball, 0-1.
Bruce faced Wilson when Wilson was with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He and Tony Watson, Jason Grilli formed that good relief corps.
Wilson's allowed 2 home runs to left-hand hitters this year, both to Pittsburgh's Gregory Polanco. And Bruce gets another high fastball and fouls it back, 0-2. Jay is a pinch hitter in his career, just 42 at bats. Played every day throughout his career, but has done okay. 262 as a pinch hitter with 1 home run. But now he finds himself down in the count against Wilson. Ahmed Rosario on deck. We'll probably see Jesse Chavez coming to face him. Maybe a 1-batter affair here for Wilson against Bruce, with 2 on and 1 out. And Jay lines one toward the middle. Pissed! Baez and into center field. Reyes will stop at third, and the Mets have the bases loaded with 1 out. Bruce down in the count 0-2, and he drills one too hard for Baez to get to. And the Mets have the bases loaded, tying runs aboard in the 9th inning.
Boy, nice hitting by Jay Bruce. 0-2 count. Bullet up the middle. Boy, I thought Baez was going to make the play there for a second. And if he did, he would have doubled off Reyes off second.
So Wilson comes in, gets ahead of Jay Bruce with a couple of fastballs, tries a cutter, and Bruce tattoos it up the middle. That'll be the only batter that Wilson faces, and now Jesse Chavez will come on for the save opportunity to face Rosario with the bases loaded. Mets making this a game in the 9th inning. We'll be right back to Chicago. 35-year-old Jesse Chavez, who's been a Cub for about 6 weeks, comes into a big spot in the 9th inning.
His inherited runner stranded is not good for Chavez, but he's been great in a Cubs uniform.
Ahmed Rosario, bases loaded, goes after a first pitch cutter, 0-1. Rosario tonight 2 for 4, a couple of hits, a stolen base, a run scored, an RBI. Reyes at third, Plawecki at second, Bruce the tying run at first with 1 out. Austin Jackson on deck. And Rosario lifts one foul and quickly 0-2.
Well, just nice hitting by Jay. That ball is on the corner, on the knees, and that protective 2-strike approach gets him a base hit.
Well, he was down to the count 0-2. Now Rosario behind 0-2 as well. And he takes it wide from Chavez, 1-2. Jesse Chavez now with his 9th major league team. We first saw him with the Pirates in 2008. And he has been well traveled ever since. Came from Texas in the middle of July, and he's been the Cubs' best reliever over the last few weeks. 1-2 to Rosario, and he lifts one foul. Still 1-2.
Well, the good thing about Chavez, he's a strike thrower, so you don't run into the same problems you run with when you put Pedro Strop out there.
Just 1.4 walks per 9 innings this year. 1-2 coming. Off the corner. Just missed. 2-2.
Eric Cooper's had a good game behind there. It's been a lot of close pitches, but he's been right almost all the time.
And a good take by Rosario. Now the 2-2. Struck him out. Chavez throws a fastball by Rosario, and the Mets are down to their final out of the night.
Looked like a little two-seamer, Gary, that runs down and in. Just had enough sink on it to get past Rosario.
So it's left to Austin Jackson. Jackson has great numbers against Chavez. 8 hits in 17 career at bats. Bases loaded, 2 down, top of the 9th. And Jackson fouls off the first pitch fastball, 0-1. Austin tonight 2 for 4. Singled in his first 2 at bats, drove in a run. Now batting with the tying runs on base in the 9th. And Jackson takes a letter high strike. He didn't think so. A little cut on that fastball from Chavez, and now the Mets are down to their final strike.
It's our pitch cast say. Outside. Of course, right after I sing the praises of Mr. Cooper.
Can't be right all the time. Third straight Met hitter to try and fight out of an 0-2 hole. And Jackson takes that one off the plate. 1-2. Sunglasses at night.
We talked about the wind. Anyone get it up in the air.
1-2 to Jackson. Foul back. Jackson's hit 2 home runs this year, both since joining the Mets. And that wind blowing just as hard out to center field as it was when the game began. Mets have hit 2 home runs tonight. Conforto in the 2nd, Plawecki in the 7th. Again, the 1-2. And he fouls back another. He had a good cut at that. Chavez has had home run issues. He gave up 10 in 56 innings in Texas. He's given up 2 more in 20 innings since joining the Cubs.
Contreras is going to go out because he called for that fastball in. He wants him to sink it in, not to four-seam it in there.
Uneasiness in this big crowded Wrigley after that good cut by Jackson on that last pitch.
And Jackson takes strike 3 called, and the ball game is over, and the Cubs hang on to win it. A knee-high fastball. Austin clearly thought it was down. But Chavez comes in, registers back-to-back strikeouts to pick up his 2nd save as a Cub, and the Cubs win it 7-4.
Well, both starters, Lester and Syndergaard, were good, but not great. But the bullpen for the Cubs was better than the Mets. Ball came back over the outside part of the plate, and he got the call from Eric Cooper. Good job of framing there by Contreras. Chavez rescues the Cubbies.
Zobrist RBI double put the Cubs in front to stay in the 7th. Rizzo added a home run in the 8th, and that was enough for the Cubs bullpen to survive the 9th, as Joe Maddon had to use 3 pitchers in that 9th inning. Strop, Wilson, and ultimately it was Chavez. Just the 5th save of his long major league career, his 3rd this season, his 2nd as a Cub, and the Cubs win their 6th in a row to go 4.5 games up on the Cardinals in the National League Central. Here's your game summary brought to you by Jeep. Syndergaard and Lester struggled early, settled down through the middle innings. Lewicki hit a home run to tie it in the 7th for the Mets, but the Cubs took the lead for good against Jerry Blevins in the 8th, and Blevins suffers the loss as the Cubs take the opener of this 3-game series 7-4. They wave the blue W in Chicago as Jesse Chavez comes in for the save. Cubs win 7-4. We'll come back with more from Wrigley in just a moment.